Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Pyrrhic.
And I'm Victoria.
And today we are doing a movie review of a film that came out relatively recently, Black Adam by Warner Brothers Studios.
Yep.
Heroes don't kill people. Well, I do.
It is an adaptation of a DC Comics property starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yep.
And lots of many other colorful characters.
Emphasis on the colorful.
Yeah, and unfortunately it was a little bit of a box office bomb.
Right.
So we saw the movie when it came out in October.
Yeah, we did.
Went to the theater, saw it, and then just recently it came out on HBO Max. So I remember when we left the theater, initially we thought it was decent.
I never thought it was that great. I thought it was okay for a superhero movie.
So you were just being nice when you said that it was okay, like decent.
I said it was decent for a superhero. I said it was better than a Marvel movie. That's
Yeah.
as far as I'll go with my praise for
Right.
Black Adam. I've never thought it was like a great movie.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, we left the theater and then we just watched it again and then we wanted to sit down and record some thoughts, specifically ways in which it can be better, because if you are a regular viewer of this channel, you'll know that our thing is kind of looking at things like pieces of media that exist and then talking about all the missed opportunities, what we think the creator was aiming for,
Right.
and then the ways that we think that they could be better. So I think at this point a lot of our audience is probably aspiring creators, like webtoon artists.
Yeah.
And so me personally, I think movies are the closest form of media that has like a lot of stuff in common with a webcomic.
Of course, I agree.
Yeah, because a lot of traditional print comics and then webcomics to an extent also kind of mimic the style of like a storyboard of a movie, and it's a visual medium.
I
Right.
think if you want to look at a good example of visual storytelling, you're going to draw from both good comics and then good movies, because both can be used to kind of understand the tricks of the trade in terms of visual language and communication. I think the medium shares a lot in common with cinematography. So I think if you want to be a good webcomic artist, I think you should look into film language and cinematography and editing, especially things like continuity and how to communicate a passage of time through editing, all of those things that films already do. And then it also, again, has an overlap with books in terms of like character arcs and stuff like that. But films also have an overlap with books too.
Yeah.
So I definitely think films have more in common with webtoons than books do.
Yeah, and then another thing is that when you're working with a story that you're primarily telling through a visual medium, you also have to be careful about things like showing and not telling, right? So that was one of the things I noticed in this movie. Watched it again. So I guess before we get into it, just want to say, you mentioned already a little bit about how we feel about Marvel movies.
Oh, God.
Superhero movies, I don't like them, but if I'm going to pick, I like DC better than Marvel.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I kind of liked superhero movies back when they were like fresh and new, but I think the last superhero movie I legitimately enjoyed was The Batman.
Yeah.
And that's because it didn't feel like a superhero movie, it felt like a crime movie from the 90s. Prior to that, I would say the best superhero movie I'd watched was like the Zack Snyder. No, probably Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And then after that, I enjoyed Zack Snyder's Justice League. It was way better than Whedon's, but it wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't great.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Batman versus Superman Snyder cut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean the superhero movies in general. Like if you give me a choice between a superhero movie and like a Mission Impossible movie, I'm picking Mission Impossible every time.
Right. Yeah.
Like if you're gonna go for like high octane action, I'm picking Mission Impossible. Even like Fast and Furious versus superheroes, I pick Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Dominic Toretto. He pretty much became a superhero in that Fast and Furious 9.
No, he became God.
Oh yeah, but God's
You're-
kind of a superhero.
Kind of.
Right?
Family.
Yeah, so there were a couple discussions with the performance of Black Adam at the box office, and a lot of people were saying things like, oh, the reason it didn't break even, the reason it was kind of dead on arrival and it was a box office bomb was because it was a bad movie. But I would say it's like on the same field as Spider-Man No Way Home.
I would say it's better than No Way Home.
Yeah.
No Way Home was a load of crap.
It was a
No
load
Way
of
Home
articles.
legitimately made me mad.
Yeah.
It was awful. I hated it. I felt like I was being pandered and condescended to.
Yeah.
And like I don't like Tom Holland. So yeah, I thought it was better than No Way Home.
Yeah. But it's like no worse than No Way Home, right? You think it's like better. I think so too. But the point being that No Way Home made over $1 billion.
Yeah, because of nostalgia bait.
Yeah.
You know what Black Adam could have done? If Black Adam had thrown in like any of the Justice League characters in the Cartoon Network show, or like freaking Christian Bale was brought back as Batman, it would have made $1 billion too.
Yeah, and maybe if that's
Honestly.
if that's what Warner Brothers wants, maybe they should start doing that. They're kind of already planning on doing something like that with the Flash movie. I know they were talking about getting the guy who plays the Flash on the CW show to be involved somehow, but I mean, I haven't looked into that in a while because if you've seen what's been going on with Ezra Miller,
Oh, God.
you'd probably not be holding your breath for that movie coming out. Okay, so yeah, that's where we stand. We're not haters. Obviously, I'm in my gear. I look like a member of the nerd crew, ready to talk about Black Adam, like a DC fan, right? But yeah, I agree with you about your assessment of the Schneider movie. So with that being said, do you want to just go into like the plot real quick, and then we can talk about how we could have, looking at things. So
we should have said this in our other movie review, but spoilers for Black Adam.
Yeah.
We don't care about spoilers. We spoil everything. In the freaking Avatar review, I spoiled the plot of Three Body Problem. I don't know if I should keep that out or like keep that in or cut it out, but I figure like I'm just gonna do like an alarm noise and be like spoilers for Three Body Problem.
Do an alarm with quacks.
Yeah.
You entered the quack zone, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna call the spoiler.
The no quack zone.
Yeah, the no quack zone. The spoiler
The no
territory.
spin zone.
Yeah.
Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah.
We'll do it live. Okay. We'll do it live! Fuck it!
So I've got my notes here, and I will pull them up in case we get like brain constipation. We just finished watching it pretty much, and I took some notes about things.
But basically, it starts with a really terrible opening narration with a stupid kid.
Before Rome, before Babylon, before the pyramids, there was Kandak.
And I think the biggest problem with Black Adam is that there's a stupid kid in it.
Yeah.
Like, what the F? Cut the kid out. Maybe The Rock was like, oh, I really loved Black Adam as a kid, so I'm gonna put another kid in this movie.
Yeah.
It's like, no, The Rock, cut the kid out.
Yeah.
He's so annoying, can't act.
Yeah.
Sorry, kid, if you're watching this.
I'm so sorry, but you need to get out of it.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a joke.
I don't know. I
Right.
just don't like kids in movies.
Yeah, it seems like a very dated trope.
It
right?
is a very dated trope. It's like Terminator 2.
Yeah.
It's very 90s. So I didn't like the kid. I think they should cut the kid out, but the kid's doing the opening narration for some effing reason, even though he's the worst actor in the movie. And so he's going like, in the beginning, before the pyramids. No, wait, he doesn't even have an accent. He's going, in the beginning, before the pyramids, there was Kandak.
Yeah.
But Kandak existed in like 2600 BCE, which is around the time that the first pyramid was built. So checkmate, this movie sucks. Cinema sins count.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then we do like this extended opening narration of like, in Kandak, the people were enslaved. And it's like, yeah, every country back then, you're talking 5,000 years ago, there were no machines. They were all slaves.
Yeah,
you know?
the only way to get
every
anything
country
done.
was slaves.
Yeah.
That was basic, ancient civilization. Every single ancient civilization, I'm pretty sure, every single ancient civilization that actually had like large buildings, large cities, had slaves in some form or another.
Yeah, either foreign slaves or
Domestic,
local.
yeah, like caste system. I'm pretty sure like that's not a far-fetched statement. Like the only societies that didn't have slaves like that were probably just like hunter-gatherers.
Yeah, because the architecture that they're showing in Kandak was extensive.
Yeah, it's like an ancient Mesopotamia or something. Like
Yeah.
a very sophisticated ancient city. Friggin' slaves. Who else is gonna build that?
Yeah.
Like, are you expecting like Mitsubishi to lend you some forklifts or something? Oh yes, they enslaved their people. It's like, yeah. What are you gonna tell me next? Women were treated like chattel?
Oh no.
Oh no, they were not feminists, and they were also racist. Like, oh no, 5,000 years ago, who would have thought?
They did not believe in science, but they did not know anything about disease pathology.
Yeah.
Of course not. And so you got the civilization graphics, right?
Yeah.
And you've got this King Acton, who I think is a foreign invader, because his guys who work for him, they look like Vikings. They're wearing furs and they have the helmets with the horns on them.
I wasn't clear if they were foreigners or if they were just evil, so they were dressed in like... Because they're dressed like basically Mongolians or Afghanis, but they're also shirtless, so they're wearing like fur skirts, which is just like, what the F?
Yeah.
It just looks like 1960s caveman outfits.
Yeah, like from those epics that they used to make in the 60s.
Yeah, with the fur bikinis.
Weird anachronistic costumes. So this guy, King Acton, he enslaves the population so that they can just mine all day for this mineral called Eternium.
But I don't even know what he uses it for.
Well,
They ever explain that?
Yeah, he's obsessed with dark magic, and he uses the Eternium to forge the crown of Sabak.
Oh, so it's like a Sauron thing.
Yeah, so he's obsessed with dark magic, and this crown of Sabak, it was like, what's the opposite of blessed? Cursed?
Yeah.
It was cursed by 6 demons of the ancient world. basically the opposite of Shazam.
Yeah.
You have Sabak, and so you've got these guys digging for it all the time. They're speaking a language.
How come if it's the opposite of Shazam, it wasn't Majas?
It could have been, but see, Shazam it's like a acronym for all of the 6 wizards, right? So that's where our boy Zahudi comes in. He's the Z in Shazam, right? So yeah, so he wants to build this crown, and when he puts the crown on, there's a whole mythology that comes in at the end of the movie, but at the beginning we don't really know why he wants the crown.
It looked like a really janky crown.
It supposedly weighs 23 pounds.
It looked like it was just a bunch of pieces of poop that were molded into a crown.
Yeah, like cat litter, really dry cat turds.
It looks like the production set people were just like, okay, we got to build a crown. Okay, my 6-year-old's really good with Crayola model magic.
Yeah, model magic.
They just painted it with like some iridescent nail color and called it a day.
Yeah.
It was a very poorly made prop.
Very unremarkable prop.
Like, it'd be one thing if in the flashbacks they showed that it was like a very resplendent crown, and then like time has weathered it to like this kind of poopy, misshapen looking thing. It's like a poopy, misshapen looking thing in the flashbacks too. It's like, why?
When Sarah Shahi finds it in the cave, she's like, "Oh, time has not been kind to you." And then Dwayne Johnson sees it. Oh, it's exactly like I remember.
It looks exactly like the crown of Sabak.
Right, with his acting, where he's just like, "Yeah, the crown of Sabak." He looks under his eyebrows like that. So yeah, but basically, you got this kid who's part of the enslaved workforce, and he's like, no, unless we fight for our freedom, we're never going to be free. So Kondak needs a champion, and then he comes up with this little like triangle symbol, and he starts flashing that around, and then the Council of Wizards chooses him, the Shazam Wizards, and then he basically gets the Shazam powers. He's got the black suit with the lightning bolt on his chest, and then he defeats the King Akhton. But ever since then, that was a long time ago. That was 5,000 years
Yeah, that's
before.
the opening narration. We find out later that it's wrong.
It's a lie. It's fake news.
Fake news. It's because the stupid kid was telling the story.
Yeah.
He got all the details wrong.
The dumb kid.
Yeah, the stupid kid. So then, we do like the opening narration, and then from there we go to like a border check in this like dinky and dank set.
Yeah. But crucially, they're playing Bullet with Butterfly Wings by the Smashing Pumpkins in the beginning scene.
Are they?
The world is a vampire. Ma 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 ma.
Oh, right. When they're doing the papers?
Yeah, because the kid's skateboarding around.
Yeah, the kid skateboards around, and every time the kid skateboards around, they play like 90s music, even though the kid was born in like 2005.
Yeah, but I don't think the kid's even listening to music, right?
No, he's not.
So the movie keeps doing this thing where they put this music, like the soundtrack into it, and it's like
the soundtrack is so interruptive, and it's very like, the music choices don't make any sense. No. It reminds me of like Suicide Squad.
It does.
Where it's like you keep interrupting the movie with like a song, and it's like, it has nothing to do with anything. There's not much to the original soundtrack, just like the main theme, like da na 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 na.
Oh, you forgot the na 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 na.
Oh yeah, that. I mean, that's part of the same song. That's part of the same song.
You forgot the
the desert people sound,
the ethnic sound that they put in there,
the generic Arab oleolating. They have in all of these movies.
Yeah, we can say that because we are brown. We're used to it.
No, but they do it in Dude too, and Hans Zimmer won an award for the oleolating soundtrack.
They also
You know what would have been subversive if you did a friggin' soundtrack for a desert country that's based on Arabia and it didn't have the friggin'...
It should have been harpsichord.
Yeah, you should have done... I mean, come on.
Yeah, and they also do that in Avatar. They didn't do that as much in the second movie because James Cameron's probably like, oh, cringe.
No, they did that in freaking Zack Snyder's Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
In Justice League.
They called it, what did they call it? The
Lamentations of the Women.
That's what they called it, the Lamentations. Yeah.
Lamentation music.
Yeah, you knew that just right off the top of your head.
Because it was ridiculous, and it was all the subtitles, and it played like 100 times.
Yeah. So, interestingly, the set was built in Trillis Studios in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, the whole city of Kondak is basically one big backlot, and it's very like, it's like even Indiana Jones had better sets than this.
Yeah, it's like that set with some accompanying CGI, and the CGI like it sticks out.
It's like a tiny set. It's like the size of like a Disney ride. It's very small. Like that.
You're hiding through the city.
Yeah, the entire city's like the size of your living room.
There's Intergang.
It's like there's only room for like 2 cars
Yeah,
in that entire city, and they're just doing the same circle over and over again.
Something's
It's like Dark City.
Yeah,
That's what it's like.
So he's got to fix that roundabout, man. And so they've got this like Arab-looking font. It's literally like the Klav Kalash font.
Could you go across the street and get me a slice of pizza?
No pizza, only kalash.
No, it's like a free font on DaFont where they just take English words and then put them in that like stylized English that looks kind of like a mix between like Indian script and then Arabic.
Yeah, it looks like the Sanskrit writing and then Arabic. Yeah, and so all of the characters are speaking English. You've got
All of the characters speak English. That was so weird to me.
yeah.
They never show them speaking any language other than English.
No,
And they're all played by like brown actors.
like Egyptian. The kid is
Yeah.
Egyptian. And then the uncle, Mo Amer, is Palestinian.
Yeah.
And then Sarah Shahi, I think, is Iranian. She's
Yeah.
like an American Iranian.
Yeah, she's like an Iranian model or something.
Yeah, and she has no accent in real life. Yeah, her name is Ahu Jahansos Shahi, and she's from Texas,
Oh wow.
and she's American, and
she's RN.
yeah, she's got the Persian.
She's Persian, so she's like Farsi.
Yeah, Persian. Yeah, Iran. Her
Yeah.
father is Iranian. So, yeah. And that was an interesting thing because usually when you see movies that are set in other countries, well, not usually, but occasionally, if they're speaking a different language, you'll get something where it's like they'll be speaking in German or like Russian, like
In
The Hunt
Valkyrie.
Yeah, Valkyrie or The
Yeah.
Hunt for Red October. You show a character speaking a language, and then you do a visual trick to show that now we're speaking that language.
Or in Avatar too. I've been speaking Navi this whole time. Sounds like English to me.
Yeah. So violent. Jake Sully.
So how come everyone has like the Brutta accent? Everyone should have been New Yorker in that movie.
Yeah, and his kids, instead of going, "Sorry, Dad, I should have listened to you," they should have been like, "Hey, Pa, give me a break here. I'm doing the best I can," right?
Get off my back, old man.
Yeah, so Kandak in present day has been occupied for the past 27 years by the Intergang,
Yeah.
which is like a mercenary group, but everybody in the Intergang is Australian.
No, they're Australian or they're British.
Yeah.
There's like one dude who's Australian and then another guy who's like, "Oi, come back here!" You know, like they're just British, which is like, oh man. Last I checked, the UK wasn't going around oppressing foreign nations in the Middle East to
No.
steal their resources.
Yeah, because the kid gives the really ham-fisted
The kid
speech.
gives a speech that's basically just like, "You people came here 27 years ago for Operation Kandaki Liberation. And we don't want this anymore. We wanted democracy.
Yeah.
And you oppress our people and steal our heritage.
Yeah.
And that is why everyone speaks English."
Yeah.
No, what you are is a neo-imperialist enforcer from halfway around the world, sent here to steal my country's natural resources, strip mine our sacred lands, pollute our waters, oppress our heritage, and make us wait in lines all day.
So the check is going on where they're checking all these vehicles, and his uncle Mo Amer and Sarah Shahi, and then a guy named Ishmael.
There's a couple dudes packed in
Yeah.
a car with Sarah Shahi and then her brother.
They're trying to evade the Intergang.
They're trying to go through the checkpoint, and like turns out that Sarah Shahi was hiding and she's like wanted. So when they check his papers and he leaves, Sarah Shahi's like, "Oh, I've moved house 4 times and I'm wanted, but I'm also professor of archaeology at this university." And it's like, okay, like that's such a ham-fisted way to deliver her background.
Yeah.
And then like the kid shows up on his stupid skateboard, like steals a walkie-talkie and like runs away, and like the guards all know who he is, and it's implied that he's like made trouble for them before. But it's like, here's my question, like in this opening scene to introduce these characters, first of all, the fact that Sarah Shahi is a university professor has like next to nothing to do with the story.
It's just so she can read all the hieroglyphics like super duper fast. Like,
Yeah.
speed read them all.
It has nothing to do with her character, it has nothing to do with the plot. Her character, after she resurrects Black Adam, is basically useless.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she disappears after, I mean, she's in the movie, but like her utility and what she does for the plot, she just stands in the background. She has nothing to do.
Except, and this is going into tinfoil hat theory, because we have a tinfoil hat theory about the end, the last 30 minutes of the
Yeah.
movie. The only other time her archaeology background comes back into focus is when she translates the inscription on the crown, which wakes up.
No, she doesn't translate, she doesn't wake up the dude.
Yeah, after she reads that, he wakes up.
No, but she didn't wake him up.
I know, but that's the only other time she uses her background.
And even if she hadn't read the crown inscription, he would have woken up anyway, and they would have been like, oh, somehow he came back as a demon. You didn't need her there.
You didn't need her there, but that's the only other time it comes back, right? So.
But anyway, yeah, so then they introduced her character, the fact that she's an archaeologist has nothing to do with anything, the stupid kid, the fact that he's, like, the guards all know him, they know who he is, but, like, they didn't, like, friggin' grab him by the neck and throw him in, like, Guantanamo or anything.
No.
So, from the very beginning, I'm sitting there going, like, the fact that she's a university professor delivered in, like, a single line of very rushed dialogue, and it probably won't matter for the whole movie, and her character doesn't matter for the whole movie, except that she's, like, the normie, and then the kid is obviously, like, Black Adam's gonna be, like, his foster father.
Yeah.
He's, like, a 90s kid character, and so it's kind of like Terminator 2, but the fact that he's, like, running around causing havoc for Intergang, and they haven't, like, rounded him up and thrown him in Guantanamo, it's like, how bad is Intergang, really?
Yeah. Because we don't really see anything of Intergang being bad. They're only, like, antagonistic towards the main characters. They're not violating human rights. They're not going around terrorizing people. Everybody just keeps saying, oh, you guys are foreign invaders, you guys are erasing our thing, you're taking our resources, but you don't actually see that. It's showing, instead of showing you, they're just telling you. Like,
They just have all of the people in the city, they're all brown, and then all the Intergang, there's not a single, well, there's a couple black Intergang members. But most of them are white with British accents. That's code for villain.
Yeah.
And they are all carrying around guns, and they all have big muscles.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, the kid is younger than 27. So he's grown up under Intergang. And if Intergang isn't doing anything bad, it's like, how does he know?
The kid is younger than 27.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's his normal. That's what he grew up under. And
Yeah.
we've never seen him committing any violence. It's like a throwaway line that Sarah Shahi says, and they killed my husband. It's like, why not start with that?
Exactly.
Why not start the movie with that?
Yeah. So they go in their van to the mountain range, where near Intergang territory, where they're showing these big Eternium mines that Intergang is mining still.
Yeah, those
They've
are the
controlled.
resources that they're stripping from their country.
Yeah, and so they go there because she's got a lead about the location of the crown of Sabak, which was hidden away so that no human would ever mess with it again.
And she's like, nobody can take its powers because it's like super dangerous or something.
Right.
So she believes in magic.
She does, and she's got that necklace that she got as like a family heirloom. Or I think Ishmael says, was that a family heirloom, kind of like foreshadowing.
Yeah.
But I don't think she really even answers the question.
Does she even use a necklace? So then why even bring it up?
Yeah, because it's the necklace that matches the design on Adam's tomb, or his like place of holding.
Yeah, the lightning bolt.
I guess it's just to say, so the legends were true or something, but yeah, so they get there, and her brother stays in the car while she, Samir, and Ishmael go into the cave. And she's speed reading these hieroglyphics so friggin' fast.
Dude, to go back to the necklace, if that's like a family heirloom passed down for like 5,000 years, what the F?
Yeah.
Like, what? How does that work? Like, everyone in the world has an ancestor from 5,000 years ago.
It's so hard to...
Like, we don't all have, like, heirlooms. I can't trace my ancestry back 5,000 years.
No.
How does everyone in Kahndaq know who their ancestor was 5,000 years ago?
It's not like they had widespread literacy.
It's not like Kahndaq, before it was friggin' occupied, had, like, the best record-keeping ever.
No, the movie obviously is like a mess. We'll probably, I just want to kind of blitz through the events of the movie so that we can get into like, okay, now that you know what that was the movie, how could it have been better, right? So, long story short, they get to the tomb, and she gets the crown. She gets this ancient relic, this 5,000-year-old crown that is extremely powerful and valuable, and she just hooks it onto her carabiner. Like, it doesn't even matter, right?
Yeah.
And then Samir dies, and Ishmael is the guy who killed him. Turns out Ishmael's a bad guy. He's working with Intergang. Yeah.
The oily guy with the jerry curls.
He's got like these deep under-eye circles, so he looks sweaty and greasy.
And he's always making like...
that face isn't like this face, like...
Yeah.
He went out to get some fresh air.
And he also has the evil eye twitch.
Yeah, like he's lying.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
So, Intergang shows up, and Sarah Shahi, in distress, she reveals that the stories are true when she's being held at gunpoint on the ground, and then she speaks the word Shazam and resurrects Black Adam out of his...
So, basically to get herself out of a tight spot when the mercenaries surround their location for the poop crown.
Yeah, and so thus begins the first action sequence in the movie, which, again, in all these modern superhero movies, the action sequences are not really set up very well, and they don't really accomplish anything.
No, they're just there because they have a quota.
Yeah.
I think this movie had, like, what, 4 or 5 action scenes.
Probably 5.
I think I had 5 action scenes. I think there's like a quota for every movie.
Yeah.
It's like you have to have X number of action scenes, so they just come up with reasons to put them in there.
Yeah, and so so Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam, he grabs this guy by the neck and just melts him with electricity. And that guy dissolves into a pile of goo and like bones, and his skull is like all dusty. And then everybody else is like, "Oh, fire!" So they start firing, and he starts moving around like he's like possessed. He just kills everybody. Like he's just going like you know. There's like no weight to it at all. There's no style. You can't even really tell what's going on because he's going so fast.
Yeah.
And it's just another one of those things where it's like, did you guys even sit down and choreograph this? Like thinking, okay, so what powers does Black Adam have? What would be a really cool?
Yeah, what would be a really cool like visual way to show those powers?
Yeah, to communicate the most information to the audience as possible, because we know he can fly, he's got super strength, he's super fast, he's got lightning powers, and there should be a way to sequentially get all of that information across to the audience that is visually interesting and like moves the plot along, hopefully, and it just shows you what he can do. And you got to set up like an atmosphere, like is this guy a good guy or a bad guy?
It should be relevant to the theme.
Yeah.
Like the main theme of the movie. I couldn't tell you what the theme of this movie was.
No.
If they'd connected it to like fatherhood and like he failed as a father and then he became a surrogate father to this kid, that would have been so much stronger. That was kind of like Terminator 2. Mm-hmm. And this movie was just like trying to do so many different things at once. So it was just a confused mess.
Yeah. So after he destroys all the Intergang guys, he breaks out of the mountain, and Sarah Shahi and Mo Amir are making their escape. Mm-hmm. She's got the crown still. She kept it in her bag. Mm-hmm. And then you got another action sequence right after the first one where Intergang called for backup, and all the backup is there, and you got 2 helicopters, you got a bunch of all-terrain vehicles, you got a bunch of guys on the ground, you got rocket launchers, you got Eternium rockets, and it's just chaotic. And so then it felt like the people making the movie just wanted to rush through it, because they just slap Paint It Black by the Rolling Stones on there, and then you just have more
slow-mo sequences.
Yeah, slow motion. It was kind of visually interesting, but it felt like the Suicide Squad, like the first one.
It felt like the Suicide Squad.
Right? Like,
was it the same people who made... Was it the same editor who made the Suicide Squad?
I don't know.
The editing was, like, pretty bad.
Yeah.
The editing was pretty awful.
Yeah, lots of scenes with really short cuts where you're focusing on an action and then all of a sudden you cut away to somebody else.
Even during the dialogue scenes, they just kept cutting between characters, and I'm like, why? That character isn't even speaking and it's not even funny.
Yeah. So, but he destroys those guys. He, like, zaps them with lightning. He is moving super fast, so he just destroys... It seems like the person who came up with the visuals for that scene, or who directed that scene and had everything happen, didn't really sit down and really think, like, how Black Adam, his powers, what's the most epic way you can get that across?
Right.
There's movies, like, we always talk about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, right? But I think one of the best scenes in that entire series is when you first show Peter Parker's Spidey senses, right? The way the fly is buzzing down the hallway, you got the kid with the spitball, and then you got Flash coming towards him. They tried to do Spidey senses in the Tom Holland one, and it was like everything becomes muffled. Like, instead of heightened sound, it all becomes muffled with like a whine. And then he's got like the Spike Lee camera on him, and he's like, oh.
That's embarrassing.
And then he walks out into the apartment, and then he looks at Willem Dafoe, and somehow his Spidey senses informed him that he's in Goblin mode now.
Oh my god.
And it's like, okay, that's really stupid. Don't do that, please.
Peter? What's wrong? That's some neat trick.
Because meanwhile, with Tobey Maguire, you knew exactly what was going on. He's got enhanced. He can hear the fly.
Yeah, you have to think about what the point of the scene is and whether the visuals, again, help or hurt that. It's the same thing with webtoons, and that's like what you see with bad webtoons. Is like what the character's saying and what the intent of the scene is. The visual is usually, like, in a bad webtoon, unconnected to that. And it's the same thing with these superhero movies where it's like, the story they're trying to tell, the theme that would be the strongest for this movie, the visuals have nothing to do with that. It's almost like there's too many cooks in the kitchen, you know? And, like, the people who are doing the visuals, it's like they didn't even tell the director. Like, it's a totally different team for the fight scenes.
Yeah.
And, like, the costumes and all that has nothing to do with the director. There's no strong... You know what it is? It's because it's all made by committee.
Yeah.
So there's no strong auteur director with a strong vision, a strong creative vision, who will fight for that vision. If the studio producer brings his 12-year-old son into the showing and goes like, oh, the 12-year-old said it was boring.
Yeah.
Then they had to change everything because it's like, oh, that 12-year-old what he thinks is more important than any sort of artistic, creative vision for this series.
And that is what kind of happened with Black Adam, because they did an initial test screening in December 2021.
Yep.
And it got like a 60% rating from the test audience, which was apparently lower than the Batgirl movie, which, as people
Got
know,
canned.
Yeah, it got shelved as a tax write-off. They didn't want to release it. And so they were originally going to release Black Adam in summer of 2022, but after that reception, they pushed it to October so that they could do reshoots. And the reshoots cost $70 million.
Why didn't they just freaking write the story well in the beginning? Like, I don't understand. These reshoots are so expensive. It costs an additional $100 million. They missed their quarter. That's part of your financial projections for that quarter, for your year. And, like, if you just written it well in the first place, it would have been a better movie.
Exactly.
Like, the movies that are doing well, like Glass Onion, it's friggin' well written.
Yeah.
That's why it's doing well. And the Glass Onion has like a nothing budget because it's just a bunch of people trapped in a house. You know, there's like barely any CG in that movie.
Exactly.
I mean, like friggin' Avatar 2, yeah, it was an expensive movie, but like it was created by James Cameron, who had a strong artistic vision, strong core statement that he wanted to get out there. So the movie resonates more with audiences because there's a person who actually cares about what he's making, who has a strong vision.
Yeah.
If you just have the, like, just write it. Look, who's writing these movies? Is it like some dude, some homeless guy, they're paying $5? Like, okay, we'll give you all the mescaline, LSD, and ADHD drugs you need to write the script, and we'll pay you $10 for it. Like,
you know, we talked about this in Ted and Terry with Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3. It feels like they just procrastinated the entire time, and then they're like, oh crap, oh frick, the script is due, like, let's just write it in a weekend high on cocaine or something, right? Like, that's what it seems
no, they
like.
were drinking peach Bellinis in the friggin' Caribbean and having to meet with Jerry Bruckheimer and Gore Verbinski every night because Jerry and Gore were like, where's the effing script?
Yeah.
And Jerry and Gore were helping them write the script, so you know that they were drinking while they were writing it, and they were just trying to get it done. Nobody went back and, like, edited it to go, like, does this make sense? So they were finishing the script, and then the next day they were shooting what they just wrote.
Yeah.
Without thinking about, like, how... Because they didn't write their ending yet. They were just shooting scene by scene, and not going, like, okay, where's this gonna end? Does that... What we just shot, does that make sense with the ending that we have planned? I don't know. We don't even have an ending planned yet.
No, exactly. And so I just looked up the writers. There's 3 writing credits for this movie. You got Adam Steichel? Steichel?
Adam S.
Yeah, Adam S.
Adams.
Yeah, and so his friggin'
Alvin and the Chipmunks?
The Road Chip.
Oh my god!
These are all comedies. Maid of Honor and Due Date, right? That's the Zach Galifianakis.
These are all flops.
Yeah, and Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Road Chip, and then Diary of a Wimpy Kid,
He
The
was
Long Haul.
uncredited.
Yeah, Rampage. Oh, that's probably why he wrote it, because he was with Dwayne Johnson in Rampage, right?
Oh my god.
He wrote Scoob. Scoob, I heard good things about. I never watched it, but you can't
go by reviews anymore because people are all brain dead.
But not only that, it's like, oh yeah, this guy wrote Scoob. Do you want the guy who wrote Scoob to write Black Adam? What? What does that have anything to do with it? And then these other 2 guys.
Maybe Scoob goes on a rampage and kills a bunch of people. Scooby does. It's Scoob. Scoob is his edgy rebrand name.
I'm just thinking of tell Rem the rabbit brack rent you, you know.
Oh my god.
Boys.
All that for a Scooby snack?
Exactly. Wow, wow. Yeah. Scrappy.
Oh,
He
no.
freaking breaks Scrappy's neck. Scrappy wins the crown of Sabak. Uncle Scoob, I need the crown.
Dramatic silhouette as he cracks Scrappy in half over his knee.
He does the Mortal Kombat finisher on Scrappy. So Rory Haynes and Saurabh Narishvani.
No
Yeah, no Shiravani. I can't say his name, but they're British, right? One of them is British and one of them's from Iran, from the United States after that. And so they did The Informer. It's a United Kingdom television show. It's a 6-part series.
On BBC.
Yeah, on BBC. And let's see what I don't know what the reception is here, but there's only 6 episodes. Mm-hmm. And that's like their only writing credit.
Mauritanian.
They got the Mauritanian. It's a legal drama. And again, it has like a pretty good cast. You've got Benedict Cumberbatch, Shailene Woodley, Ben Foster. I don't know who Tahar Rahim is, but that came out in 2029. Again, you want somebody who wrote the Mauritanian to do Black Adam. What? Right?
I've never even heard of it, so it can't be that good.
Yeah, I guess, like, it's interesting because I don't know why you'd have to have 3 writers working on something. It should be pretty straightforward because there's tons of source material.
You know, it's like a freaking group project, and
Yeah.
then, like, all 3 of them procrastinated, and then one guy had to binge cocaine and finish it over a weekend.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And then the reshoots are like, oh, they didn't like it, so write a different story with what you already have.
Yeah. So it's just strange because, again, there's like tons of source material from the comics. I've never read the comics, but I'm assuming there's like stuff you can work with there, right? And so we were talking during this part of the movie. He decimates all these guys during this painted black
sequence.
and some scenes that kind of stuck out as being more visually interesting and what's the purpose of the scene that you can compare and contrast to that. A weightier scene would be the Flash in Snyder's Justice League when he saves...
Yeah, when he saves that girl from the truck driving accident, because that was a bit of, like, comedic and dramatic, because the truck driver, like, dropped his pizza or something.
He dropped his burger.
Yeah, whatever. Same difference.
Yeah.
And then he was about to pancake her, and then the Flash saved her.
Yeah.
And that was like a dramatic / comedic scene. I thought it was pretty well done. Like,
Yeah.
it nailed the tone.
Yeah, and it had music.
Mhm.
It had some kind of sappy song
Yeah.
in it. And
No, it was like an 80s song.
it was like some slow, sappy
Was
song.
it?
Yeah,
Oh.
the 80s song was in Quicksilver.
Oh,
In-
you're right.
In the X-Men movies, it was like...
Sweet Dreams.
Yeah, Sweet Dreams, the Eurythmics. So that was really cool. He saves everybody in the academy. That's like... I don't like those movies either, but that scene is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
When he saves everybody. And it's goal-oriented. It's got a lot more weight to it, a lot bigger punch.
Right.
Because it's like focusing on one aspect of their powers. They're fast, and they can do all this amazing stuff. So I think you should have done something like that. And honestly, I wrote down my notes while I was watching this. You could have cut and pasted that fight scene at any other point in the movie, and it would have been
the
fine.
same.
It,
I think it would have been more interesting if Black Adam freaking comes out after 5,000 years of being shoved in a rock. He comes out, the light's blinding him, can't control his powers, you know, hand over the eyes, does this, stop, you know, but a giant energy blast comes out of his hand, decimates all of them. You don't
Yeah.
even need an action scene.
No.
You could just show in, like, you know, the Sarah Shagi and her brother sitting in the van, and they're like cowering in fear, and they're like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? That's your champion? He's gonna get friggin' decimated. And then they start shooting at him, and he's like, you know, because the bullet's hurt, instead of just being like, ooh, what is a bullet, you know? And the sounds are hurting his ears, like, you know, hands over his ears, trying to block out the light, the bullets are hurting him, and then her brother's like, he's going to get killed, you know?
Yeah.
Like, build up the tension, big dust cloud, you think he's dead, and then all the militia dudes are just waiting, you know, pin drop silence. The cloud disperses, he's still there crouched over, and they're like, oh, hit him again, you know, and then he goes, stop, and then, like, you know, pulls out his hand, decimates all of them.
Yeah.
That would have been so much better.
Yeah, you can have his eyes go blue, and then the slow motion lightning going, like a bullet can fly, and then on the little bullet fragments you have the of the lightning.
You could do something...
Fire into the gun, and then the guy...
Yeah, you could do
right?
something really interesting where a little spark, like you go stop, and then it's like a shockwave.
Yeah.
And then you see the sparks disperse to all of the shells, and then they go from bullet to bullet to bullet all the way back to the original shooter. And then, you know, they jump across the component parts, electrocute everyone, you know, whatever. Just like something visually interesting.
Yeah.
And that would also jive with later on he loses his powers and accidentally freaking electrocutes the kid. But it's like he never lost his powers before that, ever. He was like friggin' so good at using his powers. He was basically like OP.
Yeah.
He precision struck everyone, killed them in seconds, but then when it came to the kid, he accidentally electrocuted the kid.
Yeah.
You've never seen him kill any innocent people before that.
No.
So it's just like, what the heck?
Exactly. Yeah, so after that, we were treated to an awesome scene of a flybike with those guys who look like they're from Tron with, you know, big green goblin helmets. And they're going, Ishmael, what happened?
Yeah, that was really weird. Yeah, when the stupid light cycle dude showed up, I was so confused. Because first of all, they're entirely CG.
Yeah.
And second of all, they look like they belong to a completely different movie.
Yeah.
And third of all, what was the point of including the light cycles in there?
I guess they just wanted to have that scene where they're showing Black Adam going after them. He's like approaching like Mach 5, you know, The Rock's head is like...
Yeah, but like when he fought Intergang in the action scene we just covered, which was kind of pointless and like not very visually interesting, the painted black action scene, I remarked when we were watching it, like all of the military equipment in that scene looks outdated by
It
like
does.
20 years.
Yeah.
Like they're driving like old Hummers. You know why? Are those real? Are those real, like, or are they all CG?
I think some of them are real and some of them are CG.
I think it's because the American military only gives you like really old, crappy equipment
Yeah.
to shoot movies with.
Probably.
But yeah, like it was so out of date. I was like, why aren't they flying drones over there, bro?
Yeah.
Like, is this really set during the Iraq War?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, I
Right?
mean, like, are they going all the way and trying to make it like, oh yeah, 21 years ago, Operation Kandaki Freedom.
Yeah, yeah.
The actual period accurate military equipment, because like the helicopters, first of all, they would just send drones. And then, like, why are so many dudes driving Humvees going over there? Why wouldn't they just send, like, again, drones and, like, one tank?
If they have hover bikes, why not just send hover bikes?
Yeah, why not just send hover bikes?
That's what they're getting all the attorneys
Because they,
for,
like,
right?
use, like, 20 dudes to get one kid later on,
Yeah.
like, hover bikes.
And they have Eternium rockets.
So why didn't they just use that?
I think it occurred to them afterwards. There's a lot of stuff. It's like kind of like Light Lurk. You talk about Light Lurk, where it's like that idea only came to the creators of the movie. Like at that point, they're like, "Oh, I got it," because it feels like it was shot
And written at the same time.
and written at the same time, and they didn't.
Just like Pirates 2 and 3.
Yeah, because then you have like scenes that contradict each other, like with Dr. Fate. Oh my God, Dr. Fate. Oh, more like Dr. Late. He sucks. So, speaking of Dr. Fate, right after we see that Ishmael is revealed to have been the villain, we cut to the interior of Hawkman's estate, where he is watching video footage on a screen. His name is Carter Hall. He's watching video footage on a screen of all the carnage created by Black Adam during that fight with the Intergang, and he's in a conversation with Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis, who's telling him, like, cut the crap, Carter. This guy, he's really ticked up. He just woke up after 5,000 years. So it's like, okay, Waller knew about him the whole time.
Yeah,
apparently.
Waller was like, we knew about this guy, and he just woke up after 5,000 years, and they call him a weapon of mass destruction, which is like, I think I call him Yellow Cake next. Like, what the F?
Yeah, yellow cake. But hey, Black Adam, what's your favorite kind of cake?
Yeah, exactly. I like my cake nice and yellow.
Yeah.
Thick, buttery pound cake uranium.
Yeah. So, Hawkman is being assigned a squad to go after and contain the threat, but obviously the Justice League doesn't really go and involve themselves in stuff like this. They haven't, clearly, because it's been happening for the past 27 years.
I just don't understand, like, why they send the Justice Society to go contain Black Adam. Is Intergang working for America? Is this, like, some American interest that they're trying to protect here? Like, it's clearly an allegory for the Iraq War. So why didn't they just why didn't Viola Davis just be like, America has a lot of interest in that, those ethereum mines, and we want to take...
Ethereum mines?
Whatever. Yeah, the ethereum mines. Whatever, I don't know what they're called, the ethereum mines. That same difference, right? America has a lot of interest in those ethereum coin mines. and we're gonna send you guys to contain the threat and give those brown people some democracy.
Yeah.
And they should have like dragged the statue down too, like Saddam Hussein style.
Yeah, put some ropes around
I mean,
it.
go full hog if you're gonna do like some kind of half-baked Iraq war symbolism. Go with the whole thing. Like, I want to see the statue being ripped down. I want to see an incompetent president going, Operation Kandaki Liberation, mission accomplished. Hey, hey, hey. Like, I want to see that. Give me that. That's entertaining.
It is.
American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger. Any outlaw regime that has ties to terrorist groups and seeks or possesses weapons of mass destruction is a grave danger to the civilized world and will be confronted.
Or like show Amanda Waller being like a total CIA like allegory where it's like, oh, we're gonna give those people democracy, all right?
Because they did that in the earlier versions of the comics. Like, there was the Peter Weller Batman movie that was based off of, I think, The Dark Knight Returns, where he's older and the mutants have overrun the city of Gotham. And you very clearly have this analog president for Ronald Reagan telling Superman, now, Superman, I want you to go in and take that vigilante down a peg. We can't have him acting out his...
Because you know why?
version
That
of
was in the
justice.
original comic.
Yeah.
And the comic was written by Frank Miller, I think.
Exactly.
Son, you know I like to keep you out of domestic affairs, what with all the ruckus you stir up.
Yes, sir.
It's all well and good to have a wild bronco on the ranch now and then. Does the hands good to break him in. Now, I'm not asking you to put him down. Ride him around the yard a few times if you have to. You know what I'm asking.
Sir, I can talk to him, but...
I am not going to exploit, for political purposes, my opponent's youth and inexperience.
And it's like Watchmen had friggin' Nixon, like, 4 more years on his 5th term or whatever. Like, old comics were not afraid of, like, they didn't shy away from that stuff. And it made it more interesting and made the story deeper. But you have modern day comics, or modern day movies and modern day media are trying to be so political and woke while also not being political at all.
Yeah.
And this is why I don't like wokeness in movies, because it's so disingenuous.
It is.
Like, DC, this movie got banned in China,
Yeah.
I think, for unknown reasons. I don't know.
I can tell you what.
Why?
Pierce Brosnan, he talked about the Dalai Lama in
Yeah.
Tibet. Where he was in an interview where he said, I think the people of Tibet. And then the censor board's like, okay.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow, that's insane.
That's why. Because
they
of
should have
Pierce
taken
Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan's income from that movie. It should have been like, no.
You mean he didn't work hard enough saying, kneel or die? He didn't earn those hard-earned bucks?
No.
With that stupid helmet?
No.
That stupid bucket on his head?
No.
Yeah, so... Yeah, it's just a shame because Dwayne Johnson has also been vocal that he doesn't like cancel culture, and he doesn't like that either. So, and I know he was a producer on this movie, and I think a lot of the ideas about the liberation of people and the uprising, I think a lot of those ideas might have come from him, because he is known to be kind of outspoken about stuff like that, like racism and the hardship he experienced growing up, and he talks about liking Black Adam because he was kind of representative to him of somebody who looked like him.
Black Adam actually came onto my radar when I was a kid. I love comic books, and I always gravitated towards Black Adam because he was one of the very few of the superheroes, supervillains, anti-heroes, however you want to categorize Black Adam. He was one of the few who looked like me.
So he really liked him as a kid. But I don't know to what extent, because the Warner Brothers cinematic universe is like a mess. It's been a mess.
It's a huge mess.
So they were probably so paranoid about this movie bombing that they're like, no, don't do too much of that stuff. We'll let you do a little bit, but don't.
No, it's really funny if they were like pushing the levers behind the scenes so that it wouldn't get banned in China, and then it got banned in China anyway because of effing Pierce Brosnan. The worst character in the movie besides the kid.
Yeah, yeah. Between, let's just say, I'm glad one of them died.
You got the old man, you got the effing kid.
Yeah.
Both ends of the age pool. Should have cut them both off.
Dead weight.
Yeah, dead weight.
Yeah.
Put the old man on the ice floe and stick the kid in a friggin' padded room.
Yeah. So Hawkman is like he's such a bad actor.
He's so bad.
The guy who plays Carter, and I didn't know it at the time, but I recognized him. He played like a bit part in Supernatural season 2.
Yeah, no, I was like, is he a CW actor?
Yeah, he was.
Is all the hallmarks of CW acting. It's either over the top or like he's on something.
He's acting like a video game character.
Yeah.
Like, well, that's not my definition of teamwork.
So we have a bad plan or no plan.
Yeah, well, bad plan is better than no plan at all.
Yeah, like he's such a corny TV actor, but he's super fit, so that was appreciated. He looks the part, right? He looks like a superhero, and I like the fact that DC movies kind of cast more unknown people too.
I do too. I I didn't know anything about this movie when I walked into it, and when the Justice Society showed up, and you had like Pierce Brosnan's the only like recognizable actor besides The Rock, and then like all these unknowns, I was like pleasantly surprised, and I like how DC will throw in like this is the reason why I said it was decent for superhero movies, because DC will go out on a limb and throw in a bunch of superheroes like the Justice Society into a movie and not bog you down with their stupid origin story and then not expect you to remember these guys for like over 10 movies.
No.
And then like with Marvel, the thing that bites them is that in every single movie, they're different characters. They don't act consistent at all, but I'm supposed to buy that it's the same character over like 10 different movies. Like in every single movie that Thor comes in, he acts totally different. I don't know what Thor's character is supposed to be.
No. And it's the same thing with the way the Guardians of the Galaxy act in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies versus how they act in like the Avengers ensemble cast movies. It's very strange, and you can tell different people are writing it. It's the same thing with Lost. Anything that has multiple writers...
Unless it's like Breaking Bad, where there's like a showrunner who's keeping a tight lid on characterization.
I know Ted and Terry, between the first Pirates of the Caribbean and the next ones.
Yeah,
Jack Sparrow
that's
was
a big one. Because they let Johnny Depp go off and do whatever he wanted, and in every single movie he becomes dumber and dumber. like really stupid.
Yeah, like actually stupid.
Actually, like annoying to watch.
Yeah.
Stupid.
It's kind of like SpongeBob. Before, like, you have the first 3 seasons, which are classic SpongeBob, and then the 3 seasons after, and The Simpsons too, to an extent.
I was gonna say The Simpsons.
Yeah, The Simpsons,
but it doesn't really matter because they press the reset button.
Exactly.
There's no long character arcs where it's like, what the f.
Yeah, same thing with SpongeBob. But anyway, so going into the cast a little bit, you've got Aldous Hodge. That's the guy who plays Carter Hall.
Mm-hmm.
He's the CW guy. And then Noah Centineo is Atom Smasher.
Mm-hmm.
Quintessa Swindell is Cyclone.
Mm-hmm.
And then Pierce Brosnan is Dr. Fate.
Yeah, and this is the part where we're introducing all these characters because what's her face?
Viola
Davis comes over and she's like, brown people can't have their own superhero.
Yeah.
And it's fine for me to say that because I'm black.
Yeah. So
you got the 2 biggest Uncle Toms in the DC universe of this movie. You got Hawkman and then friggin' Amanda Waller.
Yeah. And Hawkman, so I was getting him confused with, I think he's called Ironhawk from Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
Who is the son of the Green Lantern and Hawk Girl.
Mm-hmm.
But this iteration of Hawkman is the one who's the archaeologist who went to Egypt and got possessed by an ancient ghostie. Like in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah!
So.
They ripped, like, I don't know if Yu-Gi-Oh! Ripped the plot off of this one or this ripped the plot off Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm sure this predates Yu-Gi-Oh! But it's basically the same concept as Moon Knight. Or as we call him, Moon Knight.
Yeah.
And we were just shocked that there's so many superheroes who apparently have the exact same origin story of being possessed by an ancient Egyptian ghostie.
Yeah.
Just like, what the heck? That's oddly specific.
Yeah. So Hawkman, they're at Hawkman's estate, and he's got this like goofy garden that goes Transformer.
It's basically like Xavier's secret plane runway, but that was under a basketball court.
Yeah, and it was a lot more small scale and not as ridiculous as this one, where you see everything moving like a big giant.
Then it was ridiculous because like that garden must all be AstroTurf.
Yeah,
it must all be fake.
It moves
there's
so
no way.
fast.
There's no way.
Yeah, could you imagine it, like if something got stuck and the plane was coming up and it was like, oh crap, abort, and then right?
Yeah, they didn't wait for the doors to open fully before the plane escaped.
No, because it takes a long time. You got to clear the area. The alarm comes on and goes.
No, they were
like a loading dock, right?
They were leaving the same time that the gate was opening.
Yeah, the VFX artist was like, "Oh crap, I don't know."
Like it'd be more interesting this way.
Yeah.
You have to talk about the fact that Dr. Fate keeps fondling his helmet and going into like space cadet mode.
He is in the car spacing out for 30 minutes.
He loses time and he just like stares into the middle distance. I thought that was just called getting old. But apparently it's a side effect of his helmet. His helmet talks to him or something.
Yeah, it's an alien helmet.
Are you laughing?
Was I staring again?
Only half an hour or so, sir.
Maybe next time honk the horn.
Of course.
There were so many jokes about his helmet because he always looked like he was in pain this entire movie. He looked like he was alternately like sleepwalking and in pain. Yeah. So we were just joking that there's like no ventilation in that thing. And so he must be getting like really sick backdraft all of the time.
He's got his helmet and he's like just like holding it like on his crotch, let's be honest. He's holding it dead center on his crotch. And he's like touching it like this. And he'd be like touching it and he goes, oh. It's like, what's going on? What's wrong with this guy?
We were making horrible jokes. We were saying he must have like denture cream that's like stinking up the helmet.
Yeah.
Serious backdraft, acid reflux.
Yeah. He burps and his eyes water.
It's like sticking your head inside of a gym locker, but having it like within 1 meter of your face. Because he has no eye holes, he has no mouth holes. He must be suffocating every time he puts that thing on.
It's a torture device.
Yeah.
Why would you wear it?
He has to wear it.
Yeah.
And so, of course, by the end of the movie, he's begging for the sweet release of death.
So
maybe when I'm dead, I can finally have clean air to breathe.
I'm just imagining him wearing the helmet and he's going ding. Hey, Dr. Ray, ding, ding, ding. You in there? It's funny because he was really cool in the Justice League show. He was played by Oded Fair, from The Mummy. I thought he was a great character, but then I watched him here, I was like, oh my god. So we cut from there. Atom Smasher wants snacks. There's like some goofy CGI of the plane, and then you have the flashback of Dwayne Johnson's family from ancient times getting attacked by the soldiers of Aktun. and then he wakes up in the kid's room. The kid's name is Amon. He wakes up in Amon's room, and it's so funny because it's plastered on the walls everywhere with superheroes. And then he goes, I hate the Justice League. They don't care about Kahndaq. And
yeah,
then
later on, he's like, I hate the Justice League, but every square inch of his room is plastered with freaking Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman. So just like this little kid, he's third Uncle Tom count. We're at 3.
What? Superman, Batman, Aquaman, you're way more stacked than any of them. And they're not coming to Kahndaq to save us.
He's full of crap.
That'd be like having a bunch of U.S. soldiers all over your bedroom as a little Iraqi kid. I hate the U.S. You've got like a big shrine to Bush, Cheney. I love Cheney.
Yeah, you've got the Cheney backpack with a Bush t-shirt, and it's a little pin that
Bush, 4 more years. Yeah. To Bush 2000.
Yeah, Bush does not care about here, and then it's like, oh my god, you're full of crap. You're a little traitor. So, there's a cool flashback, or not a flashback, but there's like a callback to The Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah.
They've got the uncle watching The Good, Bad, and the Ugly on his little TV.
Yeah.
And that's like a setup for like a little scene that they have later. Mm-hmm. And so The Rock is doing his physical comedy and his unintentionally hilarious acting.
His line delivery. Yeah. It's very deadpan and then also like pained at the same time. Yeah. So he just sounds like he's confused.
Like the suit is too tight or something. And so the characterization of Black Adam was weird at this part because he was giving that spiel about you have to destroy your enemy and you have to take what they want and then give them no mercy and destroy everything they love. And he's acting like an alien. And it's like, he's acting like a robot or an alien.
He's
like
acting like Terminator.
Yeah.
It was very, because they tried to do the whole thing where the kid tries to teach him how to be cooler and be more human. So it was like they were taking notes from Terminator, but it's like the reason Arnold acted like that is because he was a literal killing machine.
He's a robot.
Meanwhile, Black Adam's just a dude who's out of time. So it'd be much more like, I don't know, well, there's like a time, the only time travel movie I can think of is like Back to the Future.
Yeah, one of the good ones you gave was Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah, Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Wonder Woman or Thor, where it's more like he has humanoid emotions. It's just that he's a fish out of water. Yeah. So it's way more like Wonder Woman or Thor, where it's like you have the Natalie Portman character like, no, we don't crush our glasses after we drink from them, you know? Yeah. So like he could like point at Sarah Shahi and be like, is that a woman, you know? Right. Back in my day, you know?
Just like funny out of touch things, and then his whole backstory.
Funny.
Yeah. Oh, quaint little. He can be like a horrible racist.
He's an effing racist.
He can be like a horrible misogynist. He slaps the kid around. He goes, "Go work in the field." Yeah. So.
What are you talking about? 13 years old? You're a man.
Yeah. Here's this knife, kid. Right. And we were talking also about Iron Giant and Bill and Ted, where they bring all the historical figures to the present, and it's funny because you have like discovering ice cream and all these modern amenities.
Yeah, I mean, I think again a better way to approach it would have been Black Adam's confused, so they put him in the van. They have to hide who he is and the fact that he's hiding in Sarah Shahi's apartment. You have like the 2-week scene or 2-week time skip or a month time skip where they teach him English, they watch movies with him, and so you have like funny pop culture references. Yeah, like he's making pop culture references, but it's like embarrassing because he doesn't get the pop culture references. Yeah, you know. Yeah. I think that would have been so much better, and you would again have the theme of like fatherhood, where he's like being the surrogate father, and then Sarah Shahi's like, oh, I don't know, because he's like very violent, and then the brother would be like, dude, you're a hypocrite because you literally because at one point she's like, don't teach my son violence. I brought you here to kill all the Americans. You know,
the intergang. Yeah. It also would have been really interesting if he watches a bunch of movies during that time skip montage, and then the kid shows him footage of Superman, and he goes, oh, this is another movie, or like Aquaman or The Flash, and he's like, no, those guys aren't in movies, they're real people. And then he shows them all the archival footage of these guys, and he's like, if these are real people who exist, how come they're not saving you from Intergang? And the kid's like, oh, that's what I'm on.
The other thing that would have been really interesting is if he showed him actual war footage of like Intergang's war crimes.
Yeah.
Because then we as the audience would know why Intergang is evil. And then the other thing that we were talking about is like in the very beginning, have Sarah Shahi do the narration because the kid's annoying. Yeah. And she's a university professor, so literally just have her give the spiel, and then in the middle of her lecture she gets arrested. Yeah. Instead of her trying to sneak out. In the middle of the spiel she gets arrested, and then you have like a small action scene where she escapes and her brother helps her, and then they go to the ruins.
Yeah, because they can try to arrest her and not tell her why she's being detained.
And they're trying to take her to the ruins to go get the poop crown.
Yeah,
and
the
then,
poop crown.
And then she and her brother and those guys, like, maybe they're part of, like... Because they say, like, she's, like, part of a rebellion or something.
Insurgency.
But, like, there's no insurgency at any point in the movie, ever. Like, she never has an underground meeting or anything. I mean, they should just call her, like, an agitator and be like, you've been leaking news stories to the foreign press.
Yeah, or propaganda.
Like, something that's smaller stakes. Like, because if you call her, like, a rebel, but there's no rebellion, it's like, what the F, bro?
I think, honestly, that rebellion, I think it was probably that roundabout. Those were all the rebels congregating in the square, just driving in circles over and over again, right? So, yeah. And
I mean, she should have been, like, she should have had, like, a secret Twitter account where she was leaking news to the press and, like, leaking mobile videos, and those are all the atrocities that the kid is showing Black Adam, and then they're like, oh, we know it's you're the person behind this account, you know? Like, that would have been so much better, because that's what really happens in real life. There's no, like, rebels, more so, like, people who leak stuff to the press in oppressive regimes like Russia or the Ukraine war or like China or whatever.
Yeah, or like in a lot of countries in the Middle East when you had the Arab Spring.
Yeah, exactly.
They were showing pictures.
They were all just people uploading to social media.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, that would have been better. And then so anyway, back to the story.
Yeah, that's when we cut back to Dr. Fate waking up from his little nappy nap. And he goes, oh, and then you have the conversation. There's no plan at all. And then he says that thing about, when you've seen as many possibilities as I have, you would know not to believe in absolutes. And then he's
like, I thought you just had to be smart not to believe in absolutes.
Yeah.
I don't believe in absolutes, and I don't see the future.
Oh, you don't? That's a shame. Because Dr. Fate, he keeps getting these future flashes of Hawkman going, ah!
Oh, we only saw that once.
No, it happens like 6 times.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was only once.
No, it happens so many times. It happens. I'll compile all of them and I'll put them right at this part of the film. And
Is it me?
You cannot stand against me.
Since they're all less than like 10 seconds long, I'm not gonna flag any. It'd just be like, so I'm just gonna do that. Yeah, so there's like random crap on the stupid little file. They've been flying for hours. They don't come up with a plan.
No.
And they say, a bad plan's better than no plan at all. And then he goes, I wish there was a third option.
Yeah, that was stupid.
And we're gonna make
he says, if only there was a third option.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, Pierce Brosnan, use your effing brain, bro.
That stupid helmet's cutting off all the oxygen.
No, the helmet conducts heat, so he's been frying his brain like an egg every time he puts it on.
Yeah, so the important part of that exchange is that their plan, as far as the audience knows, is they just got to get him to say the word Shazam, and he'll revert back to his little manlet form, right? And so, in the meanwhile, we cut back to Black Adam, and he leaves the apartment building, and he goes to the statue. And it's a statue of the champion that was made 5,000 years ago. And there's, like, these jarring, unnecessary flashbacks again. And meanwhile, the kid wants to get his attention to provoke... he wants to provoke Intergang to get Black Adam's attention so that he'll start fighting back against Intergang.
Yeah.
And so, the provocation of Intergang is he steals the guy's walkie-talkie.
How come Sarah Shahi didn't... Like, she was like, no, I resurrected him to fight Intergang, but she never tells him about Intergang. It's always the kid.
Yeah, it's always the kid. They're trying to shove the kid into the movie, and she kind of takes a back seat.
She does nothing.
Yeah.
After she resurrects him, she does nothing.
No. And so, the kid takes the Intergang walkie-talkie and says, attention all Intergang, Kandak has its very first superhero. It is like, shut up, kid.
Yeah.
So he goes to, like, the main square, and he sits on a platform, and he does this, and that's the same symbol from 5,000 years ago. I don't know how he knows how to do that. And so...
If you're brown and you come from an ancient country, you know all of the customs and the languages that came from 5,000 years ago.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. This exact
people
symbol.
in Egypt, they all speak ancient Egyptian.
Yeah,
and
they all walk around like this.
Yeah, and they worship Thoth and Ra and Anubis and all those people. Osiris.
Yeah.
They all worship the same gods.
No, it's crazy.
And they all know the same ancient rituals of the ancient Egyptians.
Yeah, obviously. And so, again, Intergang doesn't really do anything evil. They just tell the kid to shut the F up.
No, the kid steals the walkie-talkie. Why didn't they, like, give him a beat down?
Yeah.
Or, like, shoot him. like try to shoot at him and then they kill an innocent person in the crowd.
Right. There's no real war crimes going on here.
No, I mean, but people did that in the Iraq War. They were shooting people for fun.
Yeah, civilians.
They did that in the Vietnam War. So like, why not just show like there's so much gore in this movie.
Yeah.
Why not show like innocent civilians getting hurt by intergang to show how evil they are?
Yeah, even in some places like I know in South Korea and Japan where you have an American base, you'll have some American soldiers go around and harass like local women and girls, right? They didn't even show any of that. So Sarah Shaw, he stops the intergang guy from slapping the crap out of the kid, and then she's wearing her hoodie pulled up because she's wanted, and then the intergang guy says, "Wait a minute, I know you. You're wanted. Where's the crown?" She's wanted now for the crown, but in the beginning of the movie she was wanted.
Because she was some kind of dissident.
Yeah, so there's no real rhyme or reason to it. And so then Black Adam comes down there and protects her from getting hit with the billy club.
Second time.
Yeah, and then he starts fighting all these guys, but he does the good, bad, and the ugly thing again.
Yeah, so they did a callback to the good, the bad, and the ugly on the TV screen. And then they did a direct reference to the good, the bad, and the ugly, like the Mexican standoff. And it was just confusing because it's like, I like the good, the bad, and the ugly, but like 99% of people watching this movie probably don't even know what it is.
Yeah, they wouldn't have gotten the reference unless
you showed it in... But even then, when they showed it on the screen and played the music, most people probably still didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And they didn't get it when they had that music playing later.
Yeah, probably not. But you know, what they did get was when Power was playing by Kanye West.
God.
They got that part. So... yeah, so he grabs two intergang guys and he goes up in the sky, and then Pierce wakes up from another little nap. And Cyclone goes, "Oh, can you sense him?" And he goes, "No, but I think he's the only person in Kandak who can do that."
Yeah, I know.
You see Black Adam outside of the window holding these two intergang guys, but the computer didn't detect it.
And nobody on the ship saw that either.
No.
He was like right there. He's like 5 feet away.
Yeah, Cyclone, she's facing the window, and she's like, you know, you're Pierce Brosnan. She's like, "Oh, yeah, you did." And then Pierce Brosnan looks that way and says, "Oh, he's the only person who can do that." So it was just...
Pierce Brosnan wasn't even looking out the window.
No.
And he was asleep
Exactly.
mere seconds ago.
Yeah,
So how did he know?
It was just strange. And so Hawkman jumps out of the plane and saves the intergang, and he gets booed.
Yeah.
And he says, I don't know what the crimes are, but
they need to be tried in international court. And it's like, tell that to America.
There's no legal system.
There's no legal system.
Yeah.
There's no prosecution of war crimes. There's no legal system. These guys have been occupying this country for 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's just stupid. It's like, Hawkman, like, you're black, bro. Like, you should know better.
Yeah.
How do you not know? And he's, like, rich, too.
He's super rich.
Maybe it's because he's rich. He just doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you not know how these things go, dude? There's no, like, retribution when it comes to, like, smaller countries being taken over by colonialist interests or capitalist interests.
No, and so Black Adam, he doesn't do the lightning thing and start killing the Justice Society, though, immediately, because he says, "You don't look like Intergang."
Yeah.
And it's like, how does this guy know what Intergang looks like?
Intergang doesn't go around wearing stupid golden wings.
Yeah,
and
but
stupid golden helmets.
How does he know that? He's only been awake for like 2 hours. How does he know?
He's got really good pattern recognition.
Yeah, and so then Dr. Fate comes out, and he sounds like he's at the bottom of a well.
No, like they're like, we just need to get him to say Shazam, and the first thing Dr. Fate says is kneel or die. And it's like,
there's no place for you in the world of man. You have two choices: kneel or die.
Bro!
He goes, "Black Adam, you are not of this time."
No, first he says we have to negotiate the terms of his existence, which is like that's like the language you would see from like an Independence Day alien takeover.
Yeah, well, his helmet's supposed to be an alien helmet, so maybe
but
it's talking.
like dude, like all you have to do is get him to say Shazam.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense to go in guns blazing when you don't even know what his powers are.
No, so they had hours to formulate a plan,
and their plan seemed to be we'll beat him into a pulp until he yells "Uncle," basically.
Exactly. But later, like right after in that same scene, we see Fate pull him into an illusion.
Well, here's the other thing. If you're getting beaten to a pulp by a bunch of dudes and they're like, "I want you to give up your powers and I'll stop beating you," it's like, what incentive do you have to give up your powers? How do you know they won't just kill you the second you give up your powers?
Because he says kneel or die!
Yeah, exactly! How do I know you won't kill me if I kneel? Like, it's stupid!
So
it's so dumb.
Yeah, and Fate pulls him into an illusion anyway.
Yeah, dude, and this is what we were saying. We're like, how come Fate didn't go, like, the way to get him to say Shazam is to lock him into an illusion, and the only way he can be happy in that illusion, like Inception style, is to say Shazam. Like, show him his wife, show him his son, and be like, "Papa, I can be with you again." if you say Shazam,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Say Shazam.
Yeah, so it's a dumb plan, and you start noticing at this point because they send in Hawkman and Fate first, and then they send in Atom Smasher and Cyclone
Why
after.
didn't they just send them all in at the same time?
I don't understand why they chose those 4 characters. Is that because that was the original lineup? Because if you know their powers, you could have choreographed the plan and the scene around that.
I know.
When he's introducing the gang, he says Atom Smasher is like the tank.
Yeah.
So Atom Smasher is...
I don't know why you would send Atom Smasher to a freaking populated city full of skyscrapers.
There's not even any plan to like leave him away from the city. And
He
then
does
bring him down.
nothing.
Yeah.
Atom Smasher does nothing this whole movie.
Yeah.
They lead him to that Chinese rice field where he goes later on in the movie.
Yeah.
And then he and Atom Smasher go 1v1.
Yeah.
Like, that would have made way more sense. Atom Smasher, you stay in the plane, and the plane will track Black Adam's trajectory, so we'll lure him to a very deserted area to keep civilian casualties to a minimum, because we already have a bad rap here.
Yeah.
Lure him to the desert, Atom Smasher and Cyclone versus Black Adam, because Cyclone and Atom Smasher have highly destructive powers.
They do, yeah. That
Why
would've
would
been
you
cool.
deploy those two to a friggin' highly populated metropolis? Doesn't make any sense.
And it would have been really awesome. You could have had like a super amazing like Attack on Titan style thing when Atom Smasher gets huge, and then Cyclone is like whipping around everywhere, flying after Black Adam. And
You could have it so that she makes a tornado around Black Adam that delivers him to Atom Smasher.
And then Atom Smasher just...
Yeah.
Right. It could have been like really neat if you sat down and like sketched it out, did some concept art for it. So the plan really has nothing to do with who is involved
or the powers.
Yeah. Yeah, so after that fight is over, basically Black Adam goes supersonic. His eyes go blue, and then he sends up this huge thing of electricity. Atom Smasher smashes him down, yada yada yada, and then eventually the fight's just over, and then he goes and F's off to the ruins of the castle where the throne is. And Sarah Shahi's saying, well, the Justice Society hasn't cared about us for 27 years since we've been...
First Sarah Shahi says, they told me that you are evil, but I don't believe
No, that's after. That's after, because the Justice
They
Society...
go to the ruins 3 times?
Yeah, because he goes to the ruins. He flies away to the ruins, and then these guys have to regroup, and then they sit down, because he knocks out Atom Smasher. And then they sit down, and then Dr. Fate sees that Sarah Shahi has the crown of Sabbath.
Yeah.
And then he goes, oh, the crown is very dangerous. And then she goes, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any crown. And then Hawkman goes, look, lady, this is a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
And she goes, since when have you cared about him, Doc? We've been occupied by Intergang for 27 years. He is our champion. And then Hawkman says, he's not who he says he is. So then she goes and talks to him. And then he goes, okay, I'll hear him out.
Yeah, Hawkman says we have ancient texts that show that he's not who he says he is. It's just like, what does that mean? Ancient texts?
He got canceled.
We took out these tweets from 2004 that show that he's bad.
Yeah. Cancelable offense.
Cancelable offense.
Yeah. So she goes there and she gives him this malarkey story about, oh, my grandmother told me all about the champion. And it's like, dude, she's an archaeologist.
She's like an archaeologist. Why does her grandma have to tell her anything?
Yeah, my grandma taught me archaeology, and based on that, I started teaching at the university.
You're an archaeologist, not a seniorologist.
Yeah.
Come on.
So,
and the necklace is also from her grandmother.
Yeah, it's like the heirloom. And so while she's talking to Black Adam and the Justice Society, the kid goes back to the apartment, and Ishmael's there.
He has the crown.
Yeah, he's got the crown. He snuck it. Ishmael's there, and he shoots the uncle, and then he tries to get the kid, and then so Intergang goes to get the crown.
Intergang is working for this dude.
He's working for, Intergang's working for Ishmael all of a sudden.
Yeah, in the beginning they say Intergang are colonists that are stripping the resources away from our country, but then Ishmael, this guy who's a native of Kondak and the last living descendant of the king, 5,000 years ago, he can trace his friggin' genealogy that far back, I don't friggin' know how. He basically controls Intergang all of a sudden, and he's like calling Intergang after the kid to go for the crown.
Yeah, we call the king the coconut guy.
Yeah.
Because he looks like he's got a coconut
for a head.
For a hairstyle.
Hairstyle. Yeah, coconut hairstyle.
He's got a coconut hairstyle, and then meanwhile, his
son. He's got like
I should have known.
He's got like some weird Jerry curl situation.
It looks like he's got like...
He looks like he's got pyramid shaped hairstyle.
Pyramid shaped hairstyle, but his hair has like the texture of like a Brillo pad or
yeah,
something.
It's a Jerry curl.
So I should have known he was the descendant of the coconut
guy.
Yeah, so...
and Coconut son.
Yeah, he's the son of Coconut. And so Black Adam, Sarah Shahi goes, please save my kid. And he goes, okay. And he goes to get the crown Yeah, so Ishmael's taking the crown, Intergang's there on their hover bikes,
Yeah.
that's when you have the hover bike thing.
Hover bike chase.
And Adam smashes in the plane, and then Cyclone kicks him out of the plane.
Yeah.
And he gets huge and lands on the city.
Yeah.
And it's very reminiscent of, like, dropping an atomic weapon on a city.
Because he gets huge. He gets huge before he drops to the city, and it's like, he's like thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
You just dropped a freaking 4-ton meteor on the city. Like, at the very least, the nearby skyscraper should have been destabilized and crashed.
Yeah.
Like, there should have been impact marks. Those skyscrapers should have fallen because it's cheap Iraqi construction.
Yeah,
you think construction over there is good? No.
No, if you dropped like a cruise line from the height of an airplane on a city, it would do some pretty
If you dropped a cruise line from the height of an airplane onto a city in China,
yeah,
those apartment buildings would come down. Like, there's footage of demolition of ghost cities in China. Those things are so fragile, they're like a deck of cards.
Yeah.
Those Stalin-esque brutalist architecture, cheap apartment buildings, they're so poorly built. It's like well known.
Yeah.
You know, they collapse all the time.
They do, and it's because it's like they don't use the proper density of concrete. They mix it with a bunch of sand because it's cheaper. Yeah, so in that long drawn out scene, he's looking for the kid. The kid is like in the compartment of one of the hover bikes.
Yeah, the hover bikes seem to have no engines.
Yeah.
Because they have like a ton of storage capacity to the point that you can carry an entire other human.
Yeah.
In like the trunk.
Well, that's because that trunk, whenever they're doing that, that's like a different set, different prop.
Of course, it's like a physical set.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't see where that could fit. That'd be like if a motorcycle had a compartment in the motorcycle that was big enough to carry a human being.
Yeah. So he's like killing all the Intergang guys that he manages to catch up with, and then you've got the scene where the guy on the hover bike is going super duper fast, and he goes all the way to China, pretty much.
Yeah.
And you've got him killing the guy. He like picks him up and throws him, and then Dr. Fate astral projects to the area and says, "Oh, Black Adam, I can see you. My mind and body can be different." They're setting up a later astral projection thing. And so then he says, "Okay, bring the prisoner back. I'll break his mind." And then it turns out that he was killed by Dwayne Johnson. And I thought, honestly, I laughed at that scene in the theater. Thought it was pretty funny because you know, he's got good comedic timing, I'll say. And so there is a pointless scene after Mo Amir gets shot.
Yeah.
Cyclone and Atom Smasher are talking about nanobots, repairing him and stabilizing him in the med bay.
And Cyclone gives her backstory.
Yeah, she gives a backstory, like, totally unprompted.
Yeah, no one asked.
Yeah.
No one cares.
It's like, is this like a setup for a later movie?
No.
Like, and they're also trying to set up like a little bit of like a romance thing between those two guys, where
no one asked.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Noah Centineo just looking at her like this and being like, "Oh."
I would have liked a romance between Hawkman and Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah, do it. Do it. So, Hawkman...
I could see the future. You're going to say yes. That would have been hilarious.
Exactly, because they have that, like, "Oh, that's how you smile."
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
That's how you laugh.
Yeah, that's how you laugh, right?
I wasn't laughing. I was smirking.
Yeah.
That's how you laugh.
Somebody needs to make, like, an old Tumblr style edit of, like, all their glances at each other, all the passive glances with some cheesy music.
God.
It'd be perfect. Yeah, so... basically they all recongregate at the apartment and Dr. Fate's just sitting in a chair popping candy.
He's doing nothing.
Yeah.
He's just propping himself up.
Yeah, and so Hawkman brings prisoners to interrogate and he goes, "This is why it's useful to keep people alive." And then, remember, Dr. Fate says, "I'll break the prisoner's mind," but then, Black Adam just takes him up into the sky and he's just sitting there like,
What could I do? I saw this future and I did nothing to prevent it from happening.
Yeah, so
he just doesn't care, and that's why he commits Sudoku at the end of the movie. He's like, free me from this fleshy prison.
Yeah, so...
he doesn't want to live anymore.
No, that's what he says. It's beautiful.
Exactly! That was foreshadowing! I called it!
Yeah.
There's nothing there. It's like, exactly.
This is dystopian. It's Hawkman and Black Adam fight each other, and then they find out that Amon stashed the crown in the apartment still. So then they're like, "Oh, we have the crown." And they're like, "Oh, Ishmael wants the crown. We gotta give him the crown. It's the only piece of leverage we have." Because they find out that the kid's in the mine.
Yeah, the kid's in the mine. He's being held hostage by triangle hair.
Yeah.
Son of coconut hair.
Yeah. So, it's funny because... Black Adam knows firsthand that the crown can do evil, but he's not telling anybody about it.
No, he's not. He doesn't say, like, no, we can't give it to Triangle Head because then he'll have the powers of a god.
No.
He's not saying anything about it. He's just like, oh, okay. He's not saying, like, Black Adam's supposed to be cocky and he's supposed to be, like, anti-teamwork. So why doesn't he just be like, you distract them and I'll go in and save the kid single-handedly? And then he could have still hurt the kid because he ends up, like, accidentally shooting the kid somehow.
Yeah.
But that would have been a better way where it's like the kid gets hurt either by Black Adam or because Black Adam rushed in and, like, gambled his life, and then he got shot in the arm or something.
Yeah.
You know, like, that would have been better, because it's, like, the way it happened, it was, like, he works with the JSA, and they give him the stupid crown, which ends up biting them later.
Yeah, that was very strange.
When it's, like, you could have had Black Adam be like, no, you distract them, and I'll get the kid, you know?
Yeah. So, they go to the Hadidiyah mine, and there was that weird bit where they're all, like, talking about, okay, this is the only way into the mine.
Oh, God, yeah.
There's only one way in, only one way out. They're gonna have a bunch of hover bikes, and they're gonna have a bunch of guys with guns. And then Hawkman's like, and that's where you, oh, he left, didn't you? And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh.
I'm coming. Are you ready? Damn it.
And they're playing Kanye.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what's happening? And then you just get treated to, like, a fully CGI scene of him.
Action scene?
Yeah, and it's going by so fast you can't even tell what's happening.
No, but then they also cut off power, like, right when Dwayne Johnson gets, like, kicked in the face.
Yeah.
And, like, it, like, builds up to the point where Dwayne Johnson gets kicked in the face, so it's almost like a comedic cut.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, like, it's the one time they show the JSA planning anything in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, they were about to do a plan, and, like, they were just like, no. In the writing room, they're like, but we don't actually want to come up with a plan for them to have, so let's just have Black Adam beat the crap out of everyone. And the other thing is, like, how did nobody notice Black Adam? Like, there's only one way in and out of the ship.
Yeah, it's like that
it's like
escape hatch.
in the middle of the room.
Yeah.
The escape hatch in the middle of the room. Nobody noticed Black Adam pushing a button and then taking a dive.
How would he even know what button to push?
That, and, like, the second he opens that hatch, like, the air pressure is gonna destabilize the entire cabin.
Yeah.
The wind is gonna whip everywhere. No one noticed that?
No, I didn't even notice it.
I didn't notice either, because it didn't happen.
Yeah, it's a fake lie movie, and so that's like a great meme template of just using power and then cutting it off.
Cutting it off at the most embarrassing point.
Embarrassing happens, and so then you get this funny little bit where Hawkman's like, no, don't give him the crown, because Adrian is like, I will give you the crown in exchange for my son. And then Black Adam says, not your son, not your country, not your decision to make.
So Black Adam's, like, totally fine risking the entire country for one kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not her country either. It's not, like, it's also Ishmael's country, right?
I know. So if Inner Gang is supposed to be the bad guys and the Justice Society are supposed to be the bad guys because they're colonists, then, like, why is the ultimate bad guy a brown dude from that country? That'd be like if you were like, oh yeah, the Iraq War sucks, but then you make, like, Saddam Hussein the ultimate evil.
Yeah, it's kind of getting rid of, again, like, it would have been stronger if it had a theme. We can get into the themes once we're done with the blow-by-blow, because there's a lot of stuff here. But Ishmael talks about his ancestry, how he was son of Coconut Head.
Yeah, he's able to trace his ancestry back 5,000 years somehow.
Yeah.
Which is just an achievement. I don't think anybody on the planet can do that.
No. And so then he gets the crown, and he shoots the kid with a bullet, and then there's, like, a super slow-motion scene where he's putting the crown on, and the kid's, like, got a bullet coming at him, and then Dwayne Johnson's like, yeah, you know, like, I gotta stop it from happening.
But it, like, lacks all tension.
Yeah, and he goes Super Saiyan, basically.
Because you know they're not gonna kill a kid on screen.
No.
Even though they should have.
Yeah, so then Ishmael also says death is the only path to life, and Black Adam kills him and, like, everybody there, but you've got Adam Smasher protecting Cyclone, and then Dr. Fate protects the kid, and then Hawkman protects the mom, and they're all alive, but then the mine is exploded. Mm-hmm. And so then they're like, okay, well, get the crown, and then they find the crown on the charred corpse of Ishmael, melted into his head, and then Dwayne Johnson goes back to the throne, and he's got his flashback as to when he was a manlet, and he was speaking the Sims language.
Right.
And
Simlish.
he explains everything about how he had a tanky son and his wife died, and then the tanky
No,
son...
but he's only giving this explanation because he accidentally hurt the kid.
Yeah,
when he tried to save him.
The kid had to go to the med bay. Pierce Brosnan...
Because he electrocuted him.
Yeah, he goes, did Ishmael do that? And Black Adam goes, no, I did. But Dr. Fate's like, he's alive. Oh, not anymore. Right? Like, he's holding him, he's like, he's alive, we gotta take him to the med bay. So they stick him in the med bay, and they save the kid. But yeah, because he has that flashback because he feels guilty about hurting the kid. And he talks about how his son was the champion, the real champion of Kahndaq, and he was like super ripped and everything. And the tanky son goes, I'll give you my powers, Dad. So then they say, Shazam, transfer the powers, and he turns back into a little kid.
Yeah.
And then
immediately after he turns into a little kid, he gets friggin' shanked.
Yeah.
Like, literally immediately, he's like, here you go, Dad.
Yeah. He's like smiling, and then and that's it, right? So he immediately takes an arrow to the chest.
Immediately.
Yeah, it's actually...
It's like comedic.
Yeah, you could actually use that meme template from eearlier.
You could. Yeah, with the power.
Yeah.
I guess every superhero need his theme music. No one man should have all that.
So, then he says, you know what, I am going to give up my power. I'm going to do what Justice Society wants because I'm too dangerous. So then he says Shazam, and then he reverts to his regular human form. And so then...
His manlet form.
Yeah, his manlet form. And so then they put him into the aircraft, and then they go into the black site in the Arctic somewhere.
Yeah, to contain him forever, like underwater. They're putting him in like some kind of containment unit.
Yeah, and so that's when you got Dr. Fate going, oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, they're going like super underwater, like a mile underwater to this underwater lab or something.
Yeah.
It's like pitch black, and Pierce Brosnan's like, oh, it's beautiful. And then Pyrrhic was like, there's nothing there. And I was like, he wants to die. He has a death wish. I didn't remember the plot of the movie, and it turns out it was foreshadowing the end of the movie. It was like Light Lark. The sun was a yolky thing.
Oh, yeah.
How many times did I thought the sun looked like a yolk?
Oh, yeah, the yolk sun. Exactly.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of weird editing where they're cutting back and forth, and then there's the storage facility lady. I'm guessing she's like an important character in the comics or something.
I don't know. She was. They like gave her a really this is important entrance. But I was like, who are you? Why do I care about you? She's like, oh, we'll take it from here. Yeah, I was like, who are you?
She said the thing about like, it's funny how we have to worship the gods when we're always the ones who end up burying them.
We're always the ones who end up killing them. And I was like, huh?
She's like,
who are you?
I'm here all night. Tough crowd. She like effed off back into the container.
What the heck?
Get out of here.
Was I supposed to know who that character was?
Yeah, so then they show, it's really funny because there's like an extended voiceover where Dr. Fate's going like, oh yeah, while he's in there, he won't be able to speak because they'll put him in stasis. He'll never speak again. And then they zoom out, they show he's like a tiny little thing in a place, like a warehouse full of like all these different people of shapes and sizes in suspended animation. So they make a really big deal out of it, right?
Yeah, it's like the Indiana Jones Raider warehouse at the end of Raiders.
Yeah, so bear in mind that this is at the last 35 minutes of the movie.
No, yeah, all of this is happening in the last, 30 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
We still haven't gotten a main villain yet.
No, and so they cut to the storage room of the jet, and it took me a while because it's just a bag, and I was like, what are we looking at the bag for? But then it's like, oh, because it starts glowing, so it's Ishmael's charred corpse.
Why'd they even take it with them? Why,
get the crowd.
Yeah, they just got the crowd, and then they're like, oh, should we put this guy in a doggy bag and take him with us?
They stuck him in a regular old storage thing too, not cryo storage.
No, it's literally a dry cleaning bag that they shoved his body into. Why?
And he's like,
they didn't take anyone else's body, they only took his body. It's why'd they take his body?
And he's only it's like the place where they keep all the snacks and all the
it's like a suitcase shelf. Yeah. It's like a shelf where you keep luggage. And they've got a charred corpse in a dry cleaning bag.
A stinky, rotting corpse.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, why is he just hanging out in the back of the plane? What the F? Who took his body there?
Oh, it was Atom Smasher and
Cyclone. He's the intern? The dirty intern?
The stupid intern.
Dr. Baker's like, oh, okay, get the crowd. He's like, got it, sir. He's like, get the man, Drew. And he's like, huh? Here's my dry cleaning bag. Put his charred corpse in there.
Yeah, because you had that weird 80-yard scene, and it was completely CGI again. So this is why, I'm starting to feel like this entire last 30-minute thing was just tacked on, because, Atom Smasher saying, I found the crown, but it's not alone.
Yeah.
It's like Noah Centineo was called back for reshoots to do that line, I think. And then they just kind of ushered that into the movie, because then you've got Sarah Shahi and Cyclone reading the inscription on the crown, and then she talks about, oh, in ancient Kandaki mythology, they believed that in the afterlife, all the speech was backwards, so we have to reverse it, and then, oh, when you reverse it, and it's stupid, because it's like when you reverse text, you read it backwards, the words don't become backwards, because it says, he said death is the only path to life, and she's like, but the inside of the crown says life is the only path to death, and it's like, no, the sentence structure changes when you reverse it.
Yeah, it'd be like, death is path only life.
Yes.
It'd be
job.
like completely gibberish.
Yes, it would be total gibberish, and so for
it wouldn't
her,
spell something like, unless it was something like Tenet, like
Yeah.
a palindromic sentence
Yeah.
that was also made of palindromes. It wouldn't spell something different front to back, and then back to front.
Yeah,
and that would require actual like IQ points being spent on the writing part of this movie. And there were no IQ points spent on the writing part of this movie.
They maxed out the IQ.
They maxed out the IQ. The whole thing about like, oh, they believe speech is backwards in the afterlife is pretty dumb to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, it could have just been like, oh, I mistranslated this word. Because that happens all the time. It was like, again, in Arrival, she's like, ask what the Hindu, the Sanskrit word is for war or something.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, the literal translation is not the same as what the actual meaning is in a different language. So she could have just been something, it could have just been something like that, like, oh, I was reading it using the, this translation, but I forgot that this word could also mean this in this translation, you know?
Exactly.
Like, that happens all the time. You didn't have to be like, oh, it's time to, like, backward reverse it. And it's just stupid.
Yeah, so...
It's just stupid.
Yeah, they talk about the Rock of Finality, and just like you have the 6 Shazams, you got the 6 Sabaks. Those are like the 6 demons that curse the crown. So he gets to the rock and he's all like,
I can't believe like we're making in 2022 we're making like $500 million movies about stupid crap like the Rock of Finality and Sabak and the poop crown of Sabak.
They keep saying stuff
and
in the
Kandaki.
movie that's like embarrassing.
It is. It's like you could tell it was written by somebody in like the 60s who was like writing it for children.
Yeah.
It's like it was like the Power Rangers movie. When I watched it on the big screen, I was like, they've wasted hundreds of millions of dollars on this movie when it's like embarrassing and cringy.
Yeah.
Like the freaking Pokemon movie. I could treat the Pokemon movie with more seriousness and weight than I could treat this movie.
Yeah, it's like happening to everything now.
It's happening to everything. Like everything is so low effort and crap.
Yeah,
and it's just cringy and childish, so juvenile. There's no thought or effort being put into it.
No, like I think if you watch the first Jurassic Park movie made in the 1990s, and then you watch the Jurassic World movies, they're not even like trying to do something that's convincing, because you could tell in the 90s they were like, dude, the audience is not going to believe that you were able to resurrect dinosaurs unless we spend time talking about DNA and everything like that. So you have to make it believable, because we're going for believability here, and we want that, what's that expression? It's like the
suspension of disbelief.
Exactly. The suspension of disbelief should not be completely just outrageously stupid.
Yeah.
And these new movies, they don't even care about that. They're
like, as long as we throw enough CG money at it, people will watch it.
Yeah, people want to see dinosaurs. We have so many dinosaurs in this movie.
Yeah, and you know, in 93, DNA was like cutting edge science. Most people didn't even know what DNA was.
Yeah.
So the fact that movie in 93 was like the modern age equivalent of like freaking, I don't know, 3-body problem or something.
Yeah, fusion, there was a big breakthrough in fusion, nuclear fusion. It'd be like if somebody made a movie where that was like the central mechanic and they were talking about it in detail with more or less accurate terminology.
Yeah, it's like Interstellar or Tenet. Like, Nolan's the only person who's doing movies like that anymore.
Yeah, Oppenheimer.
And that used to be, like, somewhat of the norm. Like, it was either, like, crime movies. Like, I just watched Die Hard 3.
That's awesome.
Die Hard 3 is better, and it's not even as good as the first one.
No.
It's better done with a fraction of the budget.
Yeah.
Than, like, these crappy movies, and, like, I'm just like, oh, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah.
Oh my god, what's gonna happen next?
The gallon jugs, right?
Yeah.
And the whole fake out with the school.
Yeah.
That was great, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And don't forget Jeremy Irons talking like this.
Oh, that was embarrassing.
Simon Says.
Jeremy Irons.
Yeah. He's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, like, these movies, like, these old movies. I watched Spider-Man 3. It's not even the best Spider-Man. When it came out, everyone said it sucked. It's, like, head and shoulders above any modern superhero movie.
Yeah.
Because they actually tried. I mean, they didn't really try because they had Venom, like, onto the floor right next to Peter Parker.
The little rock
Yeah. Just like happened to be there when
How cool.
Peter was there.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Sandman,
Yeah.
Sandman trying to reconstitute himself, iconic scene. You'll never see a scene like that in a modern day superhero movie.
No.
I mean, like these movies just don't care. They don't try, and like they have no respect for the audience. The audience's IQ, the audience's like level of belief, disbelief.
Yeah.
There's just no effort put into the writing whatsoever.
It's like a waste of money.
It's like a waste of time to even sit here and like analyze it, honestly, because it's like no one cared.
Well,
You know?
the problem, the thing that really infuriates me is like, yeah, it's one thing like to waste your time and money to go to the theater to watch
Yeah.
it, but then to know that it costs $250 million to make.
Yeah.
Like I
It's
think
like the same. It's like for that amount of money, the first Pirates of the Caribbean cost $230 million in today's money. It's like you could have made another movie as good as Pirates 1. Shot in Jamaica
like
with that level of money.
Yeah, even if you didn't make a movie, you could have like donated that to charity or something, you know? Like what the heck? That's
Hollywood's gotta make a buck.
Yeah, it's
Dwayne Johnson has to make more money.
It's an absurd amount of money that it's like, dude, you see all the potholes on the roads, all the infrastructure problems. Oh yeah, what is that? Polio in New York. Yeah, but there's polio in New York again. But let's make another $250 million Black Adam movie that nobody cares about because it sucks, right? And it's like, oh my god, it's so much money. Yeah, so Ishmael's charred corpse in the bag starts glowing after she reads the translation. And right after she reads the translation, the crown goes,
yeah.
And it like evaporates. And then somehow it like appears on the head of Sabak, who's now in the middle of the ocean. He comes out of the the middle of the ocean, and they go, "Oh, the readout says it's Sabak, the Demon King."
That was so weird. How did he teleport from the dry cleaning bag to the middle of the ocean?
I don't know. It would have been better if the plane crashed in the ocean, because he comes outside of the plane and shoves it for it to crash.
Yeah.
He should have crashed it from the inside.
Yeah, he should have, like, they should have been like, the plane's reading a heat energy, really intense heat signature.
Yeah.
It's coming from inside the plane,
Exactly.
you know? Like, something like that.
Come
More,
on.
like, give it some stakes,
Yeah,
weight, drama.
and Dr. Fate goes, "I'll go check it out," and then he goes to check it out, or like maybe Atom Smasher goes to check it out, and then he gets thrown out of the plane, and then he goes huge, and then catches the plane before it crashes,
Right.
and then saves everybody, right? Give him a redemption arc.
Yeah, because he does nothing.
Because they're just constantly just crapping on
Well,
him.
his character is totally pointless. He does nothing.
No.
Like, all he does is hit Hawkman in the face.
Yeah.
And then, like, demolish a bunch of buildings when he gets atom bombed.
Yeah, and then he
onto
eats.
the city.
He just eats.
Yeah, he just eats.
As like a comic relief type thing. He's like eating chicken, eating chips. And so, then they have to go and fight Sabak. There's a super tacked on CGI fight scene. And then it's really stupid because this whole time Dr. Fate's been saying, "Oh, one of us is going to die. There's going to be death." And then he makes a shield, and then they're like, "Oh, frick, the only way out of this is to get Black Adam,
Right.
who we just put in cryo like 9 minutes ago as far as the running time of the movie." And then he astral projects to Black Adam. He goes, "The world needs you."
The world needs you.
And then he like wakes him up. And then Black Adam goes, and he's like punching.
Yeah, less than 10 minutes later, Black Adam gets freed.
9 minutes later!
And Dr. Fate was like, "Someone's gonna die, but I couldn't have foreseen that we would need Black Adam again."
He's such a moron. Like, you've got a guy in the team who's got future powers, and he's an idiot.
He's a freaking dummy.
He's got that helmet on too tight, man. And so then he's got to defeat the Demon Champion. And Dr. Fate, like, this is another reason why I think it's, like, tacked on in reshoots, because he's got a totally new power set during the fight against Sabak. Like, Sabak
Yeah,
is, like,
he does.
He's less strong than Black Adam is, because Black Adam defeats him,
Yeah.
obviously. But Dr. Fate was able to subdue him well enough in time for Black Adam to get there.
With the shield.
With the shield.
That
and then,
giant shield.
And then the Shadow Clone Jutsu. But,
Well, he used the Shadow Clone Jutsu earlier against Black Adam.
but not the same extent.
And he didn't have the shield.
No.
At all. And Black Adam was like a world-ending threat as far as he knew. So it's like, why was he going easy on Black Adam?
I don't know. He said kneel or die.
I
and then he
know.
went easy.
And he was like, "I'm only going to use 50% power for this guy."
What a twit. And so then he gets killed by Sabak, and then Sabak makes it to the little throne. He sits on the throne, and then you get these, like, crappy skeletons.
Oblivion skeletons?
Yeah, they look like, what are those, Draugrs or whatever in Skyrim?
Yeah, the Draugrs, the glowy skeletons.
Yeah, they're called Draugrs in Skyrim. They look like a bunch of Draugrs, and they only have maybe 2 walk cycles. The
Yeah.
ones that go like this, and then there's the ones that go like this. you know, and then there's maybe like 3 different skins that they have. And so there's a zoomed out shot where you see them all descending on the city, and it's like...
It's the 3 of
Yeah, like they're moving in sync, like they're doing a flash dance for like Thriller. Like all of a sudden you hear dun dun da da da, and you're like, "What's that?" And then they come out and they start doing this
because they only had a month to do it. They only had a month to add that scene,
like 20 days of reshoots, right?
And that's why that reshoot with the civilians attacking the skeletons and getting their town back. It was like the smallest set. It was like the size of like a garage.
They couldn't get all the extras back.
No, they only had like 10 dudes in a garage.
And the kid is like noticeably older.
And the brother is like lost 100 pounds.
Yeah, Moa Mir.
He like got his paycheck and got gastric bypass surgery or something.
Yeah, Moa Mir looks like he cleaned up a lot.
I was like, oh, I didn't know a bullet to the gut was the magic bullet that helped you lose 100 pounds in a day, bro.
And the kid's like towering over the mom.
The kid's like 6 feet tall.
And he's like, he tells...
That's why he didn't have a line in that one.
He tells the townspeople, we have to fight back. But he's like, he's trying to make his voice sound like this.
Hey! What are you all standing around for? This is our chance.
Because he'd probably be like, yeah, he's like a 15-year-old kid or something. So he'd probably be like, you guys, you know,
I know.
Black Adam's the champion. We gotta save our city. It's like, oh crap. His voice is cracking. So yeah, it looked pretty, like there was like a time, I don't really know, but I know that they moved the release date back by like 6 months.
Yeah.
So I don't know when exactly the reshoots took place, but they cost $70 million. It's just,
jeez.
It's just crazy because it's like in the Joss Whedon cut of Justice League. It drives me crazy. Ezra Miller's hair is changing every single scene.
Yeah,
Aquaman.
same thing with Superman's hair.
Yeah.
His hair is like black and brown alternately throughout that entire movie because his hair was brown in the Mission Impossible series. And it, like, he looks way better with brown hair.
Yeah.
But like it just keeps changing from black to brown. There's like that awful scene in the beginning where Batman's interrogating someone and you don't know what the F is going on.
What are you doing?
Is he interrogating someone? I don't even know. It's also filmed in Joss Whedon's bathroom. He just hung green curtains around the bathroom and had Ben Affleck embarrassingly like going. That's the opening of the movie.
I forgot.
It's awful.
It's horrible.
It's so weird. It sticks out in my mind as like one of the weirdest scenes in that movie.
It's just really bad, and then gosh, it's just Aquaman's tattoos are wrong in multiple different cuts.
And his contacts.
His contacts are just wrong, and they did like a $10 million joke, and then he completely like Cyborg. You want Cyborg? No. Cyborg's not in this movie.
He somehow managed to cut all the POCs out of the movie.
Yeah, Cyborg F off. The scientist,
the Asian
lab,
scientist, Cyborg's dad.
Yeah,
cut them all out of the movie.
Yeah, Cyborg's dad, and then the scientist who I think ends up being.
And he also cut out Flash's
girlfriend,
love interest, who's also a black girl.
Yeah,
cut her out of the movie.
That's right. But that scientist ends up being like a character. Like he's named after a character of a later character in the movie.
I think so.
One of the Atom guys.
And then they also cut out the Green Martian too. Who's another black guy.
Like,
all the people who were cut also have, and you know, there's also a female Amazon who's black too. Cut her out of the movie.
Yeah. That's
like
so
literally,
funny.
she doesn't even have a speaking line. There's just like a lingering shot of the Amazons, and like the foremost Amazon's black. They cut that scene out of the movie. It was like one shot.
That's crazy.
Joss Whedon's like, oh, just seeing black people like just ticks me off. Gotta cut him out of this movie.
Yeah.
What a racist. I'm glad he's canceled.
Yeah. What a twit. So, yeah. It seemed like tacked on and strange, and then you've got Black Adam coming back. When the statue falls, he lifts it up, and then Atom Smasher takes it from there. I don't know why Atom Smasher's not fighting Sabak, because it's just...
the only person who fights him is...
Hawkman.
But like he sticks his hand in his chest, like Mola Ram style. But then, like, this demon dude's made out of, like, liquid molten lava. And Hawkman's just like, and it's like, dude, you're a human, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't have any armor on his hands. How come he's not getting, like, utterly destroyed?
I don't know. And I don't know why he can touch Dr. Fate's helmet when... It's like, why would you have him use that later in the fight if you showed earlier in the movie when Adam's Master wanted to touch it, don't touch it because it'll make you go crazy. Because it chooses who can touch it or not. But you never established earlier in the movie that Hawkman was chosen to be able to touch it.
Yeah, you did.
When
they were building up the romance between Dr. Fate and Hawkman.
Yeah.
And Dr. Fate's like, that's how you laugh. I know, because I saw it last night.
Yeah, he likes polishing his helmet. Polishing Dr. Fate's helmet. Probably gonna have to cut that out of this video.
No, you're gonna keep that one in.
Yeah. So, and then Black Adam fights Sabak, and you have Hawkman saying, yeah, do your thing. Go all out on him. He goes, beat his ass. And so then he goes, okay, permission granted. So then they fight, and then he does a Mortal Kombat finisher, which is awesome.
Yeah.
He splits him in half. It was really cool. And then the helmet disappears. It bursts.
Yeah, after Hawkman uses it, it just disappears. Which is Hawkman didn't disappear before Hawkman used it. Dr. Fate died, by the way. I don't think we ever explicitly said that.
No,
Dr. Fate died before, so he puts a shield around Devilman, and then fights him, and then he's like, Black Adam, you must wake up. The world needs you.
No, he didn't say it like that. He goes, the world.
I need you.
Don't tell Hawkman. He says, the world needs you.
The world needs you.
Do you remember? He just needs you like that. He's getting smacked. Well, he is getting smacked. His physical body's being beaten to a pulp, and he's like, oh, I'm projecting my mind. I'm surprised he isn't going. He should be drooling and Black Adam with blood coming out, with a head injury. Oh, what day is it? Oh, we need you. Oh, it hurts. Black Adam. Right?
No, the biggest thing is we've seen him whenever he touches his helmet, he loses time. So that's probably why the Devilman killed him, because he was sending a message to Black Adam.
He's just standing there. And he's like, what are you doing? Move, move. And he's just standing there. And the devil guy goes, okay.
No, because we never see his death on screen. He just dies.
No, we do see his death on screen. The Devilman punches him in the bowel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that was when he was sending the message to Black Adam then.
Yeah, and he's gonna...
Yeah. So. He had to send the message to Black Adam, and he could see the future, and so either he wanted to die, which I think he did. That's why he said, oh, it's beautiful. Yeah. And he's like, I've lived a long life. I'm so happy.
Yeah, he goes, this is the first time I've looked ahead, and I see nothing.
And it's beautiful.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And then Hawkeye's like, no! The wedding is next week! I'm gonna have to cancel the catering! No!
The stress got to him.
Yeah.
The stress of planning the wedding got to him.
He got cold feet.
Yeah. The only way out was death.
That's so traumatic for Hawkman. More traumatic than the ancient Egyptian ghost. Yeah, so, then the helmet disappears, and they save the day, and all the skeletons go,
yeah,
and disappear.
Yeah.
And all the people go long live the champion. And so then they ask Black Adam if he's gonna be king, and he says, no. And
he sits on the throne, and then he destroys it. He's like, this country doesn't need a king, it needs a champion, or something like that.
What's the difference between a champion and a king? But
I don't know why he's so anti-monarchy. Democracy didn't develop until, I don't know, when the Greeks had it.
Yeah, and honestly, his solution for getting rid of Akhton back in the day was not democratic.
No.
He didn't consult the slaves, who said, no, don't do that. If you do that, things are just going to get worse. Because we don't know what happened to Kahndaq after that king died.
No.
We don't know if the city fell into ruin because they had no leader, right? Because, the truth is, most people need a leader to follow.
No, back in the day, the reason democracy didn't exist, and even in Greece, the only reason democracy was able to exist is because it was so small.
Yeah.
And they had city-states. They couldn't govern more than a city-state. The more land mass you have, the more you need to have, a strong authoritarian leadership in order to hold the territory back in the day.
Yeah.
You just didn't have the technology, the communications, the literacy, and the education to have a real democracy. The average peasant, was starving on the streets. They couldn't friggin' vote for... how would you even count the votes? If you have most people who are illiterate, who probably wouldn't even vote for the best leader, and second of all, they're illiterate, so how do you even legitimize their votes?
Yeah.
They don't have signatures, there's no ID system. You know, like it's just it would never work
Yeah.
in the ancient world. So like he should have no concept of democracy. So unless you had like again the scene in the beginning where the kid and Black Adam are bonding, like Iron Giant or Terminator 2 style, and then like freaking the kid is showing him I don't know why he would show him this, but like you know the stupid Schoolhouse Rock specials.
When you vote for president.
This is the only TV we have.
And Black is like, why are we watching stuff out of the U.S. Constitution? This is conduct. And then the kid is like, no, but in conduct we do not have a constitution. And then he's like, but a strong leader, that's great, right?
Yeah.
You know, like Muammar Gaddafi, Saddam Hussein, great guys. He looks like a strong leader. And then the kid could be like, no, what we really need is democracy.
Yeah.
And then he'd be like, what's democracy? And he'd be like, where the people say what goes. The people are the rulers, you know? And then Black Adam would be like, I've never heard of that before. You know?
Like you could have...
Because in the beginning he's saying, like, you need to be strong and defeat your enemies. That's not democratic thinking.
No,
that's like, authoritarian thinking.
Yeah, so you could have had something to introduce, like, the hero plot line and, like, the democracy. Oh, send in your vote for your favorite hero. And he goes, oh, are you voting, like, what do you mean vote? And he's like, people choose their favorite one, and then whoever has the most people choosing them, that's the person who becomes, like, the hero, right? And then he's like, well...
Isn't that just a popularity contest?
Yeah, and he goes, how come the strongest one doesn't become the hero? Rightfully, because they're the strongest. And he goes, well, sometimes the strongest people don't have the interests of everybody else, in consideration, right? So, the movie ends there when he says that, and then we get the after credit scene, which was added in with the reshoots.
Yeah, to tease Henry Cavill coming back as Superman.
Yeah, so Amanda Waller comes down with a drone hologram. I don't know why she couldn't have just been a drone screen. I don't know why it was a drone hologram. But she goes, well, Black Adam, I'm going to keep an eye on you. And he goes, well, nobody can defeat me. Nobody on this planet can defeat me. And it's like, dude, the concept of a planet... For that guy?
He should be all up in flat Earth.
Right? Like, are you freaking kidding me? The concept of a planet for this guy? Like, what the heck? And then
he's a slave.
Yeah.
He's, like, below uneducated. He's, like, completely illiterate.
Hey, but he's got the wisdom of Zahudi.
Does that magically make him know democracy?
It has to. That's the only explanation.
It's the only explanation for how he learns English and democracy and all that stuff.
And the concept of planets. And so then she goes, well, I can make one phone call and have somebody not from this planet take you out. And then he destroys the drone. And then instantly after he destroys the drone, Superman comes out of the shadows. And he goes, oh, it's been a long time since somebody's made the planet this nervous. And then he goes, Black Adam, we need to talk. And then Black Adam's like, that's the end. That's the real end. And, I mean, that scene, it's like, what was the goal of that scene? It's like sequel bait or something?
Yeah, let's get people hyped for, like, the next Justice League movie.
It's like, this movie, and now we're getting into the discussion where it's like, what the movie was trying to do, we've already kind of covered that.
Right.
And then what it should have done, like what themes you can kind of pull out of here and then focus on to make a stronger movie, just briefly to talk about how you could improve a story like this. Because it's a problem you see with a lot of superhero movies. There's just no goal.
There's no goal. There's no strong vision. It's just like a quota of action scenes and a quota of location changes and a quota of superheroes and a quota of jokes.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's like Mad Libs. That's why you can watch the movie and they're all the same. They have the same structure. It's like the first 5 minutes is like usually an introductory action scene.
Yeah.
And then there's like 10 minutes of like setup for the next action scene. And then there's another action scene. Yeah. And then there's like 10 minutes of setup for the next action scene. It's usually revolving around a central MacGuffin. All of these movies have a central MacGuffin. This one is the poop crown. In the Suicide Squad, it was the stupid voodoo doll. In, not the Suicide, in the original Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
In the Avengers, it's a stupid scepter. You know, it's like always like central MacGuffin. In No Way Home, it was the potion to turn all the people good again, which was like extremely stupid.
Yeah, that they made in a high school chemistry lab.
Extremely stupid. They basically gave them all love potions. It's so dumb.
Yeah, so I am not opposed to a MacGuffin as long as the MacGuffin has some thematic purpose that makes the theme of the movie.
I'm not opposed to a MacGuffin. You kind of need to have, like, for a lot of these movies, you kind of need to have, like, a central driver. But I think a good movie doesn't have a MacGuffin. A good movie has character action and then reaction. Like, the Batman, there's no MacGuffin in the Batman. It's the Riddler does stuff, and Batman's trying to figure out who he is and, like, take him down. Yeah. It's a central mystery. Yeah. It's completely different from a MacGuffin-centered plot, which can just feel very hollow and tropey and samey. Yeah. Like the average MacGuffin plot, unless it's, like, The Mummy, you know, where it's very entertaining, so the MacGuffin and the tropiness is kind of like, you don't even really notice it, and it's all linked to the central idea of The Mummy. If it's not, like, something that's very strongly tethered to the characters and, like, the setup, and, like, there's also, like, the writing is redeemable in other areas, it can feel extremely, like, just lazy writing.
Yeah. And so I think something you said yesterday was really interesting and good. It was off camera, it was while you were leaving, and we were talking about potential pitches for rewriting the movie. So what you said was you had to have Black Adam in this movie kill human beings to show that he's not like the other superheroes. Right. He actively will go out of his way to kill a person. Right. And he even says that in the movie, and I think that's a really strong element that they should have focused on more. And kind of, you start with that, and then you say, okay, how can we build a plot around this character who kills people, and he's vengeful, and he's brutal.
I can do it right now. Okay, so basically, my treatment for this movie would focus much more on the central theme of, like, the kid not having a strong father figure, and you would have, like, the bond between the kid and Black Adam be the center of the movie. So you would start with the lady scientist, Sarah Shahi, her character, giving the opening narration, because the kid sucks. So have her give the opening narration backstory, and it's part of her lecture. And then in the middle of her lecture, she gets, like, hoisted away by Intergang, and they, like, literally interrogate her, like, extraordinary rendition style. Yeah. So right off the bat, she's a learned university professor, and they're, like, you know, torturing her pretty much, or, like, putting her in stress positions, or, like, Jack Bowering her. And you can see as an audience member, it's like, this is such an overreaction. She's a university professor. And they're like, and then you finally see, like, what they're interrogating her about, and they're like, you posted this on Twitter the other day, and this is a violation of this clause of the Intergang occupation of Kandak. Yeah. And it's like, you know, she just, like, tweeted, like, view from my balcony, and then, like, Intergang person shooting a civilian. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. And she's being tortured for that, or, like, kicked around for that, harassed for that, whatever. And then she's like, but I posted that months ago, you could have gotten me at any time. And they're like, yeah, well, we're gonna arrest you and take away your son. Unless you, and then she's like, what do you want from me? And they're like, we just found this mine of Sabak where the poop crown is. We need you to go get the poop crown for us. And that's when you establish, like, she's a university professor, she can read the language, and they need her to go get the poop crown. So you still have the poop crown as your central MacGuffin, but you, like, strengthen the opening, and you tie that into her backstory as a university professor. So it's not just a one throwaway line, and then she does nothing with it after that. No. So then they go to the mine, and then she accidentally raises Black Adam. Yeah. And he kills all the Intergang dudes, and then instead of, like...
What you could even do when she accidentally raises Black Adam, she could intentionally do it, because she can be giving a lecture about the crown and the champion, and, like, because some kid can be like, oh, I thought Kandak has always been under rule because of Akhtan, who was the colonizing force back 5,000 years ago.
Yeah, I think it would have been interesting. I think it would have been interesting if you made Kandak like some sort of, like, disputed territory that's been occupied by one or another colonizing force for, like, thousands of years.
You know why?
Why?
Because of those Ethereum mines.
Yeah, the Ethereum mines.
So
you should have made Coconut Head, he should have been a colonizer too.
Yeah.
So it's like, yes, our territory has always been occupied by one or another empire for thousands of years because of our Ethereum mines.
And then she should say, but you've always had the people do the uprising, and then talk about the story.
The will of the people cannot be broken.
Yeah, the legend of the guy, of Teth Adam.
And then, the person in the audience could be like, oh yes, like Teth Adam, and she'd be like, no, Teth Adam is a myth.
Yeah, and so the kid in the audience should be like, no, Teth Adam is real. They say that's that special word, Shazam, you know? And so then when she's in there, she should tell them, oh, this is where the crown is, it's in here, but she can read it and they can't. So she's deliberately misleading them with what it says, and then she goes, all we have to do is speak a word and it'll open, and they're like, what word? And then she says, Shazam, and then it opens, and then he comes out.
I think it'd be more interesting if you made her a non-believer, like a cynic, and then she goes into the tomb, and then she's like, so the rumors are true, and it's like The Mummy. Yeah. Where, like, she doesn't believe it. And then, but then, like, you know, when crap hits the fan, and they're like, where's the poop crowd? Or, no, they're the Australians.
Gotta keep it consistent.
Where's the poop crowd? Then she's like, oh, Shazam, and then raises him.
Yeah.
And then, you know, not even knowing that it would work.
Yeah.
And then he kills all the dudes, but I think Amanda Waller shouldn't know about it at this point.
No.
They should have, the whole contingent just got lost in the desert, and then Shazam is awake, and then she's like...
You mean Black Adam?
Yeah, sorry, not Shazam. Black Adam's awake, but then he, like, passes out because he's, like, overwhelmed, overstimulated. It's the first time he's seen sunlight for 5,000 years.
Yeah.
He's out of time, so then she has to drag his big body back to the van.
Yeah.
And then she and her brother, like, maybe tailed Intergang. Like, maybe she was, like, you know, when she was getting, before she got detained, she, like, called him. And then he was on the call, like, listening to Intergang interrogate her or whatever.
Yeah.
And so then he, like, followed the convoy out of the university to the mine. And so then he's there waiting for her. And then she takes his body to the van. And then they leave with Black Adam. And then she's like, oh, I think he's the champion. And then the brother's like, what do we do with him? She's like, he has great power, like, you know, like Superman. You know, because Superman exists in this universe. And she could be, and then she could say, it could be like our own Superman.
Yeah.
Kandak's first hero, you know? And the brother was like, oh, so you want to, like, keep him in our house, you know, as long as he doesn't eat my food or something, something like that.
Yeah.
So then you have the scene, like, the first 20 minutes of the movie should be the kid and Teth Adam bonding.
Yeah.
He teaches him how to speak English. He freaking, shows him movies, shows him all about these other heroes, shows him what it means to be a hero. And I think the crucial scene, like you were saying, like, the big thing about Black Adam is that he kills people and other superheroes don't. You should have the kid be like, okay, now let's go on our first real crime-fighting mission. Mm-hmm. And the kid takes him out to go fight crime, and Black Adam friggin' kills people.
Yeah.
And then the kid should be like, what are you doing? You're not supposed to kill people.
And then Intergang gets wind of that, and they start trying to look around the city about who's doing this.
But in the whole movie, every time he kills people, it's shown as, like, awesome.
Yeah.
Even though he's, like, eviscerating, like, people left, right, and center, it's, like, shot in such a way that it's like, oh, yeah, we cheer, you know?
Yeah.
Even the kid's like, no, we have our own champion now. It's like, dude, he's a mass murderer.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Yeah. It's horrifying to see.
So the kid should be scared of him.
Yeah.
And then Black Adam should be like, what did I do? What did I do? And the kid's like, you're not supposed to kill people.
Yeah.
Only bad guys kill, you know? Like in Iron Giant,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Guns kill people.
Yeah.
That would have added so much more to the story and made it so much more cohesive and interesting and given Black... He doesn't have a character arc. There's not a single character arc in this movie.
No.
There's not a single, like, point. There's no thematic elements, there's no character arcs, there's no plots that are not just, like, go to X to do Y, and then go to Z to do A.
Yeah.
You know? Like, that's the whole movie. It's just, like, Mad Libs.
It is, and, like, they tried to do the thing with the father and the son, which is why the son ended up being the champion who gave the power to the dad.
And you could have
in the
echoed that
flashback.
with the kid in the present day and Black Adam. And then Black Adam would be like, I guess I'm just always going to be a disappointing dad. Don't worry, I let my own son down too, you know?
Yeah, like, instead of his son being killed by assassins, by the king's assassins...
He should have accidentally killed his son.
He should have accidentally killed his son, and then he would have been like, this is terrible.
I know,
right? Like, that's why, like, I've been so grieving for the past 5,000 years. Like, I should stay asleep. Like, this is wrong.
Or you could have it so that Black Adam doesn't remember initially when he wakes up. He has kind of, like, partial amnesia, but then when Dr. Fate comes in and does the, like, inception on him... That's the memory that comes to the surface.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you're lying! I didn't do that, you know?
Yeah.
And then Dr. Fate's like, no, you killed your son, you know?
Yeah.
And then Black Adam has to, like, grapple with that the whole movie. And then if he hurts the kid, too, then it's like, I deserve to be put back. And then that would be the halfway point of the movie. Not, like, friggin' 30 minutes before the end.
No, and
that would be the halfway point, and I think it would have been interesting to split time between Black Adam, really build him up in the first half, and then the Justice Society, and then show that their morality and their bureaucracy makes it so that they can't fight Diablo Man on their own. They can't do it.
No.
And it's not because they're not strong enough, because then you have this constant freaking, you know, in all of these superhero movies, you have constant power creep.
You do, yeah.
So I think it would have been better if it's not like, oh, Black Adam's stronger than them. It's just like, Black Adam, like, we can't cross this line because we technically work for the CIA or we technically work for America, whatever bureaucratic ties they have. But we can send, like, Amanda's not going to like this, but I think the Justice Society should have gone behind her back, freed him to kill Diablo because they couldn't do it. And Amanda's like, no, pull out. And they're like, oh, but what about Diablo Man? And she's like, well, we don't have the clearance to fight this guy because of XYZ reason.
Yeah, we got to keep our interests protected. But I also think that, so with the group that you have, with Cyclone, Atom Smasher, Dr. Fate, and Hawkman, another thing that they needed to keep an eye on and what they needed to have in writing, and I don't think they did this, was say, okay, what are each of the characters capable of, just make it a short list. Like Dr. Fate can only do 4 things. He can make illusions, he can read people's minds, he can astral project, and he can do shadow clones. That's all he can do. No shield, no future vision or something. Because it's like, if he has the ability to see the future, that's like that's really problematic. And the way it was executed in the movie sucks.
Unless you're gonna make the whole movie around that concept and do like closed time loops and like literally that's the plot of Arrival and the plot of Tenet.
Yeah.
Like, unless that's the whole focus of the movie, just don't do it.
Because then you're always going to be asking, why didn't he do this if he knew that it was a potential future?
Yeah, exactly.
So don't give him that power for this movie. Just give him those 4 other powers. Maybe he can't use that power because the last time he used it, he saw a great and terrible evil, and that's like sequel bait for a future DC movie.
No, maybe like last time he used it, he like he kept seeing his own death. And it was like actually being dead.
Yeah.
Like, because he actually loses time and experiences the future. So he's like, I don't use that power anymore because a part of me was lost the last time I saw my own death or something like that.
Yeah, just some reason that he doesn't use that power, and maybe it can be sequel bait. Maybe he can use it like once in this, like he gives Sabak the vision of his own death or something. Like he gives him that vision, and then Sabak gets really freaked out, and in that moment of being distracted, that's when Black Adam like punches him or something, right? Like you can use it later, but just keep an eye on what each character can do and just make it like a list, and then have outlined designated roles, like an actual plan for each of these characters, what they should do. I think Dr. Fate, their plan should be, look, he's been gone for 5,000 years, he is killing people, we see somebody took YouTube video of this vigilante attack in Kandak, and this has got to be a metahuman.
He's very powerful.
Yeah.
So the way to take him down would not necessarily be a show of strength. That's why we're not sending in Superman. That would lead to like the friggin' leveling of the entire city.
Yeah.
What we need is like a coordinated, precise mental attack.
Yeah.
Because he's confused, he's discombobulated, he's a man out of time. So just send in a team to destabilize his mind and make him want to go back to sleep, you know?
Yeah, and so
that would be Dr. Fate's job.
And then you've got to, like, you've also got to square away, like, are they doing this under the sanction of Intergang? Like, is Intergang okay with them?
I don't know what the F Intergang was doing, because on the one hand, it's like, oh, they're the colonists, but then they end up working for Pyramid Head, and they don't work for Amanda Waller.
No.
So it's like, who do they work for?
Exactly.
Are they American? Like, who is Intergang? Who do they work for? Because they end up working for the Kandaki guy. Like, what the F?
Yeah, so if the crown is the MacGuffin, and the crown is to resurrect a demon, I think it shouldn't be the last descendant of King Aktun.
It should have been a colonizer.
It should have been
Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, it should be some guy who owns the Eternium mines.
And he's like, I want to be a metahuman too. Gosh darn it, Superman.
Yeah,
like a
it's
fake
not
Lex
fair.
Luthor.
Yeah, it's not fair that these guys are born with it and I'm not.
Yeah, money can't buy everything.
Yeah.
That's what they always say, puts the poop crown on, you know?
Yeah, so it should be some guy who wants to buy it, and he's been getting Eternium trying to make his own crowns, but nobody knows how the crown is made in the first place or something, because it was made with magic.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to use magic or something like that. And then Amanda Waller is protecting that guy's interests because he's providing maybe the U.S. government with Eternium for something else, right?
Yeah.
So the JSA has an agreement with him that they're not going to step on his toes. They're going to can the metahuman, and then they're going to bring him the crown or something.
Yeah.
But then when they find out what the crown can actually do, because maybe he can tell them this crown is a precious heirloom, but then Dr. Fate's like, no, that's not just any old heirloom or artifact. He's not going to put it in a museum. He wants it for himself because it's evil, right? So we can't give him that. So then they directly disobey orders. So then it's the JSA and Black Adam against Intergang.
Yeah.
And then against the billionaire once he puts the crown on and becomes Demon Man. Because then you're directly tying Intergang to the demon, because Intergang disappears at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
They're
they
not
do.
there anymore
No.
after they blow up the mine.
Yep.
They're not there anymore and nobody cares. So that would tie all that stuff together. And that way, once you have a plan of like, okay, Black Adam, we have to give him a precise attack, but he's going to see us coming because he's very paranoid.
Right.
Especially since Intergang is looking for him now after this vigilante attack. So we got to get Cyclone and Atom Smasher to take him to an unpopulated area, and then that's when Hawkman bests him, like he tries to distract him in armed combat, and then Dr. Fate comes in with the scalpel.
Yeah, I think the strategy, I mean, they're like, oh, too bad we don't have a plan. Bad plan, better than no plan. If only there was a third option. It's like, dude, Cyclone, Atom Smasher are the containers. Like, especially Cyclone, she can discombobulate him, get him out of the city, have him chase Cyclone or Atom Smasher because they annoy him.
Yeah.
Chase them out of the city because he's really fast. And then Hawkman comes in with the aerial attacks, so that all three of them attack him all at once, so that he's discombobulated, confused, and annoyed.
Yeah.
And then Dr. Fate takes advantage of his like mental, lack of focus to like attack him with illusions.
Yeah.
Like, it's so simple.
Yeah.
It's like you have Cyclone, who's not extremely offensive, she's more like support.
Yeah.
And then you have Atom Smasher, who's offensive, and then Hawkman, who's like ranged offensive.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't want to get too close to Black Adam because he's very strong.
Yeah.
The only person who could probably get close with him is Atom Smasher because he's huge.
Yeah.
So have Cyclone and Hawkman running interference, and then Atom Smasher versus Black Adam, and then friggin' Dr. Fate comes in when he's distracted.
Another thing they show in the movie is that the Eternium rocket or the Eternium gun that the guy has damages him, but they never go back to how Eternium weapons can be used to hurt him. The hover bikes don't do anything to him. It's
and
not
the,
like...
And the Devil Man is like a nothing burger.
Yeah, so I think if they were going to have Eternium weapons do that, then the guy, the billionaire, should be giving all of the JSA, here, Eternium this, Eternium that.
Oh yeah,
and
they hurt him, yeah.
Yeah, and then they're like, where'd you get all this stuff from? They're like, mate, what do you think we've been doing in Kandak for the past 27 years?
Yeah.
And then Cyclone, with her backstory of being experimented on, and like kidnapped at 15 and experimented on, she like looks around and she's like visibly uncomfortable, and then Atom Smasher's
As the
like,
resident Zoomer here, I do not feel comfortable with this.
Yeah, but and so then Atom Smasher's like, hey, is everything okay? And she's like, dude, like, I don't know, like, I don't feel good about this, right?
Yeah.
And then you have some dissent where, because none of the people say, you know, Black Adam is right. It's just Hawkman and Black Adam talking one-on-one. Nobody else says anything.
The younger kids who've never been doing JSA stuff before ever in their lives, they never have a moment where they're like, you know, I thought working for the JSA would be different. I thought we'd be on the good guys' side.
Yeah.
But we're just a tool for, like, the corporate billionaires of the world, you know?
Exactly. Especially because she says that she was kidnapped and experimented on.
And they're literally Zoomers. Like, they would be on, like, you would have people on Twitter going, like, hashtag JSA and Kandak are just tools of the colonialist oppressors, you know?
And she could be, like, on her phone reading, and then they say, look, Cyclone, she's such an Uncle Tom.
Cancel her.
Yeah, cancel Cyclone. She could be like, I feel really bad about this, guys. I think Black Adam's right. And then she's the one who says, no, like, no more fighting, because clearly we're not going to be able to beat him. So we have to work with him, because these guys, the Intergang is up to something here, and they want this crown. And then Black Adam sees the crown, and he goes, you know, like, what are you doing? Like, no, put that thing away. Like, that thing ruined my entire... Like, that's the reason why my son and my wife are dead. And then Dr. Fate's like, oh, that's not exactly true. Then he's like, no. So...
You know, I actually think the Justice League should win against Black Adam.
Yeah.
The first time they fight him, I think the Justice League should win and stick him in cryo, and then Amanda Waller should turn over the country to Bezos, and then he turns into Devilman, and then they're like, permission to re-engage, and Amanda Waller's like, no, we've done our job here.
Yeah.
And then they're like, what the F, bro? And then Dr. Fate frees Black Adam.
Yeah, that would have been good.
That would have been way better.
Yeah, and then while he's freeing Black Adam, he can die or something. Because I don't have a problem with him dying. One less mouth to feed.
Yeah, I
In the
mean,
DC
he can
universe.
get caught by El Diablo and die.
Yeah, so, and then him dying makes Black Adam, like, really upset, because it's like, that's another person, because maybe he and Dr. Fate, since they're both out of time, they kind of become simpatico, right? And he's like, look, I get what it's like to feel like you're, like, not, you don't belong, because I'm over 100 years old. I'm from, like, 100 years ago, and the only reason I've lived this long is because of this, like, ding, ding, and he, like, taps on the helmet. And he goes, because out of everybody in the JSA, his powers are the most similar to Black Adam's.
Yeah.
They're both, like, magic-based powers. And so he could know about the wizards and everything, and then Black Adam could be like, oh, I thought it was just a dream and everything is so different. He goes, trust me, things were a lot different 100 years ago, too. So then when he dies, Black Adam's like, okay, now I'm gonna frickin', like, kick your butt, Sabak, or whatever. So it's just a lot of stuff that you could have done, a lot of missed opportunities there, so.
Yeah, I think the rewrite could have been really promising.
Yeah.
And it's such a shame, because it's like, we did that in, like, 20 minutes.
Sitting on a sofa.
Goofing
and gaffing. In 20 minutes.
I mean, who are they getting to write these movies, though? That's always what I wonder. Because they're so bad, and, like, you look at their credits, and they haven't written much of anything else. Scoob.
Uncle Scoob.
And it's just, like, you know it must be because of, like, connections.
Yeah.
Like, it's honestly, like, the writing gig, which should be, like, the most meritocratic. Like, no, you only get to write movies if you've actually written good movies before. That's somehow the least meritocratic, like, part of the entire process.
Yeah, people care about director and even cinematographer. an actor more than they care about writer.
I know, it's crazy.
And it's like, without the story, without the writing, there is no movie. So
yeah, the movie, I don't care how much money you throw at it, it's gonna be garbage without good writing, like, case in point.
Yeah. Yeah, so, closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts, this movie could have been so much better.
Yeah, and it's like, it's not even, by all intents and purposes, it wasn't horrible, but like, I feel like if the movie was really good, if you had a satisfying character arc like that, it probably would have grossed more.
It would have grossed more.
Word of mouth,
Yeah.
right? Because word of mouth, it's really powerful. You have a lot of horror movies that are super low budget that get so far because of word of mouth.
I mean, when was the last time we got a legitimately good superhero movie? Batman grossed more than this movie. The latest Batman movie, because people said it was good.
Yeah, it was word of mouth type situation.
But, like, what was the last good superhero movie before the Batman? I don't even know. No Way Home just, like, pushed some nostalgia-related dopamine and grossed $1 billion.
Yeah.
But I don't even know, like, was there any, like, actually good superhero movie between, like, I don't know, The Dark Knight and freaking the Batman?
Hey, Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
Those movies are trolls.
They're awesome. Tom Hardy eating the lobster.
Yeah.
I think I got a parasite or something. Classic. But yeah. So, just in general, a lot of big blockbuster movies, it's like the team behind them doesn't know what the F they're doing. It's
They don't
like,
care.
How could you F it up so badly? Everything you could have done, every opportunity. Like, how could you miss that? How could you miss that?
They
I
don't
get
care.
it.
They don't care. The writing team doesn't care. They get paid in, like, cocaine or something.
They should care, though, because if these movies fail, and what you're seeing with Warner Brothers right now, they gave James Gunn the big chair at the table, you know, top of the table, because he did well in Suicide Squad. And now he holds the reins. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, dude, like, I'm a better writer than James Gunn. Like, I'm not gonna, like, toot my own horn here, but what we just wrote was better than the Suicide Squad. And the Suicide Squad had a similar kind of premise. You haven't seen it.
No.
But it's similar.
Yeah.
You should watch it. It's not even that good.
Yeah, so, but that decision to make him the head of the DC Cinematic Universe now, he axed any potential future movies about Black Adam.
He wants to start from scratch.
Again, and it's like, nobody's gonna watch these movies. They're gonna be like, oh god, who's that guy? Oh, it's Superman? You got that guy to... Okay, you know, I'm done with it. I don't care anymore. I think
superhero movies in general are just kind of going down the tubes because there's a distinct lack of quality. It's all very tropey and sameish. I've been feeling like this since 2012.
Yeah.
The first Avengers came out in 2011?
Yeah.
After the first Avengers movie, I was done.
Yeah.
Even before the first Avengers movie, I never watched any of the Origins movies because I was like, they're all the same. They're all the same. The only one that was, like, pleasantly surprising, or the only one that I was, like, semi-interested in was, like, the Captain America one because it was set in a different time period.
Yeah.
That's it. And because Steve Rogers is, like, a legitimately good guy.
Yeah.
But all the other ones, like Thor and Iron Man, like, they all have the same backstory.
They're all boring.
They're so boring. Like, how many times can you do the same thing over? And the new Phase 4 Marvel movies, they're freaking awful.
So boring.
They're awful.
The Quantumania one coming out looks so bad. The only superhero movies I like, I don't even really like the Nolan Batman movies that much. The only ones that I like are the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
I mean, I like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. The Nolan Batman movies are, like, decent. I definitely like The Dark Knight.
Yeah, those Sam Raimi movies are the best ones, I think.
I think you could easily do a retrospective series on Nolan's Batman, though.
Yeah, you could, but there's lots of questions. Like, how did the Joker... It's implied that he only hired, like, crazy people, but he accomplished so many, like, crazy gambits, right? And it's like, how?
He didn't hire crazy people. He only hired neurodivergent people.
Yeah, but still, they're so, like...
I mean, like, I like The Dark Knight because it kind of tried to make, like, a bigger point, and it tried to be, like, more interesting beyond just, like, superhero shenanigans.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight Rises is terrible.
Oh, it's awesome. What are you talking about?
It's so bad. And then...
Batman in the hallway with the bullet... The goggle player going,
Christopher Nolan didn't care.
No, he has like a comically oversized head in that one. What's up with
I know, he does.
Why is his head so big?
And then the Batman with Pattinson.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good.
It's not as good as the Spider-Man movies, though.
No. But I still like Paul Dano. I like Paul Dano.
Of all the things in that movie, I still like Paul Dano.
He's in more movies!
You know, people said that in their theaters. They started laughing when he started going, no, Bruce Wayne. The theater started cracking up. Because they're like, what's wrong with this guy?
It's like a YouTube video from 2006 of like angry gamer. Angry gamer loses a Call of Duty.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, he's such a great actor. He wasn't taking it seriously. He's clearly just memeing.
Yeah, he was having a good time memeing on the haters. So.
But yeah, I mean, like most superhero movies, like the trend should have died 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's boring.
It's not.
It's so boring.
No.
It's childish and juvenile and like just pandering.
And they're always just disappointing.
And they insult your, like, one after the other. It's just insulting to your intelligence.
Oh, I would also say that the X-Men movies with Hugh Jackman, the original two.
It's been so long since I watched them that I can't even say that I like them.
You should watch them again. You'd be pleasantly surprised.
Really? Because I remember everyone said X3 was bad, and I have memories of it not being that bad.
X3 wasn't that bad. X1 and X2 are legitimately pretty good movies.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so that is our treatment of Black Adam. Like I said, it's available for streaming on HBO Max, and I think it's still playing in theaters in some areas. You could probably catch a late showing if you're interested in watching it. Thanks so much for checking out our video, our inane ramblings of Black Adam and what it could have been. If you are feeling generous, you can give us a like, maybe comment down below some ideas that you have about how the movie could have been better, or maybe some suggestions for other movies. Or maybe even tell us how you feel about superhero movies, whether you're getting bored of them or whether you think they're like the best thing ever. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we will be coming at you guys with another video sometime soon. Same couch, same people, different discussion, different subject matter. Could you imagine if we did a 10-part series on Black Adam?
Oh my god!
We just realized it again. There's one thing we could do it. We could rewrite it like this.
Oh my god!
No, we're done with Black Adam. It's a one video.
One and
thing.
done. One and done.
One and done. Alrighty. So with that, we will be signing off.
See you guys.